Hello everybody and welcome to Physgun Fireside Denver 2025, sponsored by Physgun.com and Manco.store. I'm Rook and I'm joined by Cerny as we're here in the lower bracket quarterfinals, where Witness Gaming AU and froyotech are duking it out to keep their tournament dreams alive.
And it's going to be quite the matchup, because I don't think either of these teams really expected to be in this situation where they have a chance of being eliminated in 5th/6th place, right? I think going into this, everybody's expecting, these are two top 4 teams, but only one of them can make it to the top 4 by winning this, the other one having to go home or stay home early, depending on which side of the pond, I guess, you're looking at this from. But this is untold for as well, if we're looking at this right away, right? froyotech have not had this much of a lower bracket run at like an international LAN tournament ever. They have not had to fight this much through the lower bracket in their history of the team, which is saying something. It's saying something.
Yeah, it really is, and I think a big part of that is down to the fact that they've been struggling a little. Especially against some of the firepower that's here, right? As this is the first truly global LAN in, I think, around 8 years. It's not a surprise to me that we've really seen some big hitters come out. Everybody wants their shot, and obviously we've got great teams coming over. Coming and playing in NA. You've obviously got Witness EU coming over, but you've also got Witness AU, who are just looking so strong right now. And I'm really interested to see if Froyo, with a lot of that experience, are going to be able to match up to what is honestly some absolutely frantic fragging power from this Australian side.
I mean, it is, according to most people familiar with the matter, most Australian experts, it's the strongest Australian team there's ever been, right? We already knew, like, Jasmine T were looking strong as well when they showed up to the international LANs nearly a decade ago at this point. Yeah. But this is another level. This Witness team, they have utterly dominated their entire continent for years and years and years now. Untold amounts of experience in that regard, been to more LANs than Froyo has in the last 4 years, you could say. That's saying something in some ways as well. But obviously, experience, Froyo's got heaps of that as well. You got Banny, you got Habib as like the core players that have stuck with that team forever. Paddy's been with them on and off as well. But they have a plethora of experience. They're great online, but then offline, we've seen this in the last few years. The RGL LANs, they tend to falter a bit offline, and maybe this is continuing at this LAN as well, right? They're clearly not looking as confident as they do online.
Yeah, they've been putting up some decent numbers individually, and had some decent rounds, but against some of the kind of upper echelons of this tournament, they have had some problems. And I think it's actually very important to quickly talk about the fact that they've had problems against this very team. As you can see now, as we've got the bands up, we've got Snakewater, Gully, then Process. But there was a matchup between these guys earlier in the tournament, back in the group stage, over on Process, and, well, froyotech lost out to Witness AU, so they very much are coming. Witness Australia are very much coming in as the favourites here.
Yeah, like at least if it comes to that map, you would assume that they would certainly have a better time there. Snakewater, an interesting pick by Froyo. They got utterly trounced by the Europeans, but you need to make the concession that Snakewater is a solved map over here in Europe. Everybody, we understand how to play Snakewater, and the burgers just don't know how to deal with it. They couldn't possibly crack it. Maybe they did their homework since yesterday, right? It's always possible, but they were struggling on it yesterday. There's a chance that they know what to do now. There's obviously a good chance the Aussies play differently as well. Maybe they looked at some of their European counterparts' demos and maybe studied and figured out that standing at last is all you got to do, and you can go to infinite overtime and whatnot. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting map, I think, Snakewater. I think that's like where the pace for the game can almost be set, right? I think that's perhaps, depending on how that goes, it could easily spiral onto Gullywash afterwards.
Yeah. I completely agree, and I think that you're absolutely right. While Europe has had a lot of success here, I don't know if the Australian style, which is actually much more akin to the American style, I'd argue, will have the success here that we saw from Witness Europe. Maybe they have taken a couple of notes out of their sister team's book, but I'm not so optimistic. I actually do think that Banny and the crew over on froyotech will have some good success here, but I will say that infinite overtime you were talking about on specifically this map and Gullywash is going to make for a very, very terrifying scenario where you got to be very worried, because as soon as things start to get bogged down, you're playing over 1-point advantages and things could just get massively opened up.
And that's going to be remain to be seen as the teams have finally decided to start and get the show on the road. First mid-fight on Snakewater underway. Witness AU in the blue, froyotech in the red, and it's just a normal old mid-fight. A little bit of spam and peeking and prodding across. A bomb by Patty. In gets behind into a saw, just chilling, being a bit of a nuisance. But Habida eating a lot of damage from the other side. The combo, matter of fact, eating a ton. Habib is dead. Habida is in no position to heal the rest of his team up as Brandslam gets taken down as well. And the Aussies are just going to keep this train rolling forward all the way already, straight into second, maybe even catch these retreating players. Probably won't quite get that much damage onto them. They're going to be holding them off for a bit. Actually, a nice little pipe down to Laz, takes him down. This is going to be Froyo scrambling for a last hold.
Yeah, I like the start to that fight, right? The fact that they actually were willing to put Paddy and Laz in harm's way to try and get the early advantage, but they overextended a little bit. They lost out on some of those key plays kind of as they pushed across the point, and kind of Laz wasn't really in position to get much going. So now they're going to settle into this last hold. They're going to get this one down. They did keep their med alive, most importantly, so this is going to be a relatively standard hold, and don't get it twisted, even though Froyo are very much stuck on this last point for now, it is a very difficult point to push, and Witness Gaming over to the Sniper, I think is a really great call just to try and, well, get things moving.
Yeah, immediate counterpick as well, Brandslam picking up the Sniper preemptively, even before Silva even spawned on it, I think, so it's going to be the Sniper duel here. For now, Silva will lose that duel, Brandslam gets the frag, and it seems like a tech issue immediately into a pause from the Aussie side, I believe. At least that's what it said in in-game chat. I'm assuming that's probably what it is from. So somebody on that side is probably having a mouse issue. And here we go, pausement, the usual.
You've got to have it, Atlanta. You've got to have it. I think, I see the issue. Silvo got headshotted by Brandslam. He's like, that couldn't. No way. Roll back the tape. No, I mean...
Ref, get in there.
Yeah, it happens, right? Especially in the early starts of games, things will go wrong and be like, especially since these guys kind of rush into the game, right? We were trying to get everything's, on an awful schedule over at LAN. Things just get delayed. So we're trying to get these games to you as quickly as we possibly can. And, Witness Gaming going, oh, well, actually, we need to chill out, take a second. And get something fixed. But chilling out and taking a second, I mean, that's really Froyo's prerogative here, right?
Yeah, I mean, they get a chance to discuss their last hold a little bit as well, maybe figure out how they want to approach this, what they want to go for, because getting sniper pick is all that, but you can push out off of that. You still got to wait to see what the Aussies throw at you, and if you're going to want to try to turn this around, I mean, you got two options. You wait for the round reset, which, not very exciting, but unfortunately on Snakewater, very much advisable to do most of the time. And then, if the Aussies completely bottle whatever push they might try to throw at you, okay, you can try pushing out off the back of it. But the ball is very much so in Witness's court right now. They get to make the move. They get about 4 minutes to try and crack this last, not 3.5 more so. So they get to do the moves, and it's Froyo has to hold them off. They have to parry everything.
I'm prepared for this, right? We were doing an American LAN. I've got the analogies ready on lock. It's just like baseball, guys. Just like baseball, your favorite game. You've got the pitcher. The pitcher's the one who's, setting the pace, trying to make obviously trying to get the outs. You're trying to send that ball all the way down. Witness Gaming AU right now, they've got to find the right kind of rhythm. They've got to get the right kind of balls through to take down froyotech. Obviously, a lot of balls in the mind with obviously the team going through and taking down quite a few teams, actually. So
Froyo
but,
probably don't want to be thinking about balls
no,
too much right now. I think they probably had nightmares last night after what occurred yesterday. They don't want to have to think about that for a bit. But that's an okay analogy, and it's going to be on Froyo hitting the home run, I suppose. They have to get themselves a home run to get back out of here, or go for the walk. Get yourself the walk onto base instead. They just got to get on base. They got to get out of this somehow. It's not a strong start to the map, but a lot can happen. You're literally a minute and a half in, so not like much has happened yet. And Silvo probably just rushed back to his PC too soon after the lunch break that they just had over on the Australian side, and probably Froyo side as well, to be fair, given the time over in Denver. I think that would just about makes sense. Right, so it seems sensible. So not much you can analyze so far. I mean, it was a strong mid, but the Aussies they looked pretty good on it, but there's not much to glean from that beyond that, especially considering Snakewater, even if you win the map, the mid, it's not necessarily something you can easily roll into lost, right? Especially when your mid lives like Habita lived. So I don't know what the play is here. They got to find a way to break this last hold too. It's an easy one to hold. It's a lot of options, a lot of things to work with. Maybe they were banking on Silvo. Maybe they're going to continue banking on that for maybe another couple of lives, but they don't have infinite time.
They don't. That's true. They've got, now about 3.5 minutes. I think is actually pretty solid for them, right? If they can get Silver in the right place, they can start to get a little bit of extra distance. From that, I think what they're really looking for is being able to take down that sentry. Now, that's really important for two main reasons. Their names are Down and Connor. These guys have been absolutely on the ball so far. I've been really impressed in particular with Witness Gaming AU's soldiers. They have been absolutely killing it, and by it, I mean the enemy meds. In particular, against Witness Gaming EU, I felt like at all times on Gullywash, Auto was just dying all over the place. And honestly, I don't even put the blame on him. Witness Gaming AU's soldiers are just very, very strong. Now, if you can set them up effectively, I think that's Witness Gaming AU's kind of, well, you know, go-to pitching pattern, right? They want to open things up, set up for their soldiers, and really let them wreak havoc. And I think froyotech, obviously, with the Sentry and with the rest of these players sitting in good positions, are trying to just shut that down, make sure they can't encroach upon their space any further.
Yeah, you want to keep those guys out of the loss as best you can. Unfortunately, sometimes that's hard when both of them go simultaneously, right? If there's good synchronization there, which obviously you'd expect these soldiers to have at this level of play, right? That's just going to be hard to shut down both at the same time. You got to really keep on top of it. You got to make sure that your medic, your Habita, is in a very safe location. And yeah, I mean, it's tough to say, right? It's tough to say. And this seems to be quite the tech issue, actually, with this pause taking 5 minutes now. Good lord, it seems like it's quite something severe. Maybe that actually throws a bit of a wrench in the plans as well.
I have some insider knowledge. Shout out to my medic from my Sixers team, who is there, Bailey. Apparently, Silvo got to sign out of the PC on stage, so I had to go and sign out of that. So G6 and Witness Gaming, you can actually play their match.
Right.
So
okay.
that might have been what's caused the problem. But we're kind of slowing things down, and it looks like I'm really surprised, but Froyo are really starting to stand up. Paddy's quite far forward. I don't think they're going to try and push out, but they're looking for something more. They've whetted their appetites.
And Silvo opting not to continue with the sniping either. Going back to the scout instead, so these soldier plays may very well be coming our way sooner rather than later, sooner than we even perhaps expected. The sniper play didn't work, alright, just try something else. Don't let him get comfortable, don't let him expect your next move and keep him guessing. As far as that goes for the Aussies, it looks like Shutter, a little bit of pressure there, a little bit of pressure on nowhere else actually, just there, just seeing what they can get away with as a soldier just walks in from below. Alright, Paddy, I mean, valid attempt, decent damage there, unfortunately not a frag for him to trade with, and that might open things up a little bit for the Aussies here.
Yeah, in terms of encroaching on that space, now there's no soldier. You can start to worm your way in, get some spam onto that sentry. And again, that is going to be pivotal. Making sure it goes down, again, unlocks your soldiers, allows them to really start to just, range far and wide over this last point.
They're taking it slow. They're being very careful about it. They know that one wrong move can instantly shut down any aggression they want to throw out here as well. A bit of spam onto the sentry perhaps, but immediately shut down by Laz. He's not letting any of that happen. His Aussies being very careful as well. Matter of fact, maybe going for lower here instead, a bit of pressure there. They're really trying to find something, but they're not giving themselves, and they're not taking any risks. Not any risks right now whatsoever. They really want to go as safely with this as possible. Maybe even just Uber for Shutter at some point. Okay, the sentry going down might open things up a little bit. You might see the soldiers Connor and Dawn down, sorry, getting ready. Perhaps, potentially. Nope, they just both get taken down. Connor and Silvo trying to get in. The sentry was ready, and that's a reset. That's a reset on that push. Matter of fact, maybe Froyo might feel a little keen now.
I'm a little confused about that. Unless we're seeing a double off class, this is a very confusing scenario. As you say, that's a perfect chance for you to move on out with down, and the rest of the team being a hasty retreat. This is not a great place for Australia to want to be. They're going to have to trade in. They're going to have to go for that Uber, but there's not many players who are left in a good position to keep them alive. Lau could get caught on the end here. There's a Sixer going, absolutely catching them here. Habib finishes them off, and that's what froyotech wanted to see.
That's exactly beautiful. Just get the medic juggled onto that awning. He's going nowhere anymore. That's very unfortunate for the Aussie medic there. And Habib is going to clean it up. He does get cleaned up eventually himself. Connor trades out that frag for the demo. Perhaps a saving grace to slow down this Froyo push ever so slightly. Maybe keep them at bay slightly longer, but they have to concede mid at this point. You cannot possibly hold this for forever. You might fight a little bit down as in and just get a kill there. On to Brand Slam. Last cleaned up as well before they finally take down that soldier, but it's enough to actually keep the Aussies in this, keep this mid in their hands, and perhaps even keep them moving forward. This aggression, very much so, something we're not used to seeing in Europe usually, so they'll just keep this movement straight up going forward, and they'll just retake that second as well.
when it comes to fluid gameplay, Australia and America are both absolutely brilliant at it, and I think the Australian side is certainly starting to settle in the swing of things. Love the fact that Lau was well out of that before anything even remotely happened, and, well, we saw those soldiers just, well, get the force, get exactly what they need. Down is waiting in position to try and maybe look for a jump in here now that there is no Uber, now that there is no space. And Habib will leave as the Uber comes on in. They're going to try and catch a couple of these players, but it's really not happening for Enrith. And actually, they lose out on their demo. A little bit of a slip up here for the Australian side. They've got to be careful, but they are holding strong, and Lau in a solid position as of yet. As Laz tries to jump over and catch them off guard, Down is low, but will go down. And now they're going to have to run away. Just scouts and a medic right now, but that's more enough to escape. A lot of damage remaining on the Australian medic, but they will be able to keep alive. Silva jumps through, takes down Habib, but not much else.
And just manages to hold the W key, get the demo out of there again as well. At the end of the day, he's a pretty important player nonetheless. If you can't get the med, that's the second most important frag you can get, and it keeps the Aussies in this again. They don't have to worry about as much damage right now. The Uber's in play for Froyo, but it's close for Lau as well. It's not going to matter too much, and they took too long. They couldn't quite push in. They were lacking the damage to open up maybe an avenue for themselves. Now Froyo have to sit on second and wait to see what the Aussies throw their way, as Connor fancies himself a window peek before getting balled back, unfortunately. But you know, that's the nature of having to play against a rap assassin. That's what that weapon is for. Got to take it slow. Got to take it a little bit more easily. Lots of saw pressure here coming out of the Aussies. Nice little sticky there to get the scouts off that high ground for a bit. Eating a lot yourself, Enrith, but it's good enough to stay alive with regardless. And just seeing what openings they can find here. Where a hole is already poked into this Froyo defense that also wants to be blown wide open.
I think we're again keeping an eye on these soldiers. They're going to be the ones trying to look for something. If we start to fire them off, they're going to go high, going to try and catch someone, but it is actually going to be a trade. Soldier for soldier right now. We're not going to lead to too much. Well, no, sorry, scout for soldier, actually. Silva was the one to fall. Apologies. As Down walks away here as Brand Slam tries to jump through, but eats a rocket for their trouble. As very much in saw right now are Froyotech getting ready for that trade is Lau and crew. As Enrith takes a lot of damage, but will remain alive. Connor is the one to fall as they tried to make that happen, but the force was there, but it's not going to lead to too much. They're not going to be able to push in right away. They're going to have to remain on this mid, waiting for their chance to open things up again, which, obviously, with the Uberad, they're really going to be able to do.
This is a beautiful situation for the Aussies, nonetheless. They just got to wait for the soldiers to come back. It might be a bit slow, and Froyo are praying for an early force here or something like that so these Aussies can't get through for free. But if they get the second without having to pop Uber, it's going to be a grueling last hold, and they're going to try to get as much out of this as they possibly can. So much damage there onto Patty, but he lives nonetheless. He gets out, he will escape to last, and maybe before they have bought themselves just enough time for another last hold with even Ubers here. That sentries are going to be up in time though. It's not going to be able to hold us off. The Uber comes out eventually as well for the Aussies. Habida still doesn't quite have yet. He's going to be hiding in spawn with the rest of his team. Now they got to start putting on some pressure on that point as well. There's still stickies to deal with though. Patty's taken care of. These Aussies, they have a nice opportunity here to convert the round. So much damage coming out. Habida does have his Uber eventually though. He does get it just in time, but it's not enough. Doesn't get to the point. And that's one round for the Aussies.
Oh man, I was really worried that Habida would not get it, but in the end, it didn't even matter. A lot of respect for Witness Gaming, looking at that one and going, okay, well, we have the Uberad, we can lock off the spawn doors, really solidify our position. Again, respecting the fact that the Uber is not just for kills, right? It's not just for trying to push through, it's not just for trying to trade, but it's about for making space. And Witness Gaming, you took that to the absolute extreme there, locking off the right-hand side, even taking over a lot of the left, and then finally, once it expired, and they had everything they darn well wanted, they went, okay, now we'll look at the point. They shoot away the stickies. Habib has to pop to try and get something going, but froyotech can't keep them off at that point. They don't have any sort of foothold to work from, and I loved that systematic dismantling coming out from Witness Gaming AU.
Surgically done, beautifully done, and I don't think we need to, like I was going to say, maybe we want to run a quick poll in chat to see who chat thinks called this pause, but I think they've got it on lock already. It's a banny pause. It's a banny tack pause. Yes, we're looking at a tactical pause out of banny immediately. It's a short one though. Looks like it's just a short one. Quick little pep talk to get people back on the same page, seeing what went wrong and trying to solve your issues here. At least they didn't leave us hanging for long, and we'll see how they respond now in the second round. Froyo going down a round, but they've got plenty of time to get themselves back into this map of Snakewater. Clearly they've been struggling on this map. Clearly they're trying to get their sets in, and we'll see if they have a better response for the second mid fight for now. We're not looking so strong last time around here, but maybe this time got a response to what the Aussies might throw at them. Another big bomb across by both soldiers immediately, but Paddy's instantly shut down. Laz gets onto the combo. Lots of damage, and huge damage onto the demo, but the kill takes so long to clean up. Eventually, Paddy does get that cleanup, but they still lose 3 for it. They lost the Beeb as well. The Aussies are for numbers. There goes the medic. No heals now for the side of Froyo. In fact, it's only Brandslam left alive, trying to do his best as a one-man army, and it's not happening. That's 2 scouts and a medic running you down, and the Aussies win another mid.
Oh, just a little bit, like, safer, right? On that soldier bomb coming out from froyotech, and they could really make that work. But Paddy takes so much damage. He's slow to kind of get any sort of, like, aggression after getting the rear. It doesn't really lead to all too much, and as a result, froyotech have to commit forward. They have to commit some of those players in, and as a result, again, we see a lot of damage going the way of Habib, and he just can't live through that.
It's a struggle to live through now. It's another struggle for Froyo to hold on to last once more. This time around, they don't even have a medic Uber to deal with fire. The Aussies come in immediately with theirs, take down, or whatever, the NG buildings there, where shut off the right spawn, get so much cap time immediately as well, and it's another quick and easy round off the pack of that. It's starting to look a little bit more dire for the Froyo team here. Now, still got 20 minutes left on the clock though. They got time to come back into this. They need to find some footing. They're stumbling, they're tripping, and it's not looking that solid for them right now. They really have to find a way back into this map. And, well, I guess it starts with the mids, right? That's where they've been struggling the most right now.
If they can get that coordination down a little bit more and get that timing for the soldiers, I really think they're going to have a very devastating mid. But Witness Gaming EU right now, they see the problems, they see the gaps, and they will likely be able to take it. Paddy tries to go kitchen, but there comes the deep bomb. Down is going to go through. They're going to take down Habida right away. Paddy's trying to get aggressive, does take down Enrith, but Lau split off, but the scouts come back, and I love the fact Australia love to play around this medic. They will just move back, keep their eyes on the prize, and Banny is going to be able to clean up Silvo, but again, the medic, the Uber, everything in favor of Witness Gaming other than that midpoint.
Froyo manages to win a mid for once, but it's still not as decisive as they would have wanted it to be, because now, how do you hold on to this? They're down to full Uber. They're just now starting to get some heals going, spread around with the team, just getting into position. These Aussies primed and ready to roll in with everything they've got straight away as well, and it's going to be a really, really tough one. Froyo kind of banking on maybe getting like an aggressive pop out of the Aussies here and then kiting the Uber as best they can getting back, but there's the Uber through kitchen, seeing what they can catch off here. That's Habib caught in a corner. That's the demo taken care of. Habida has to try and get up, but he's just behind with his own scout, and they're just caught in no man's land. Okay, that's a nice little frag there. Actually, Banny might still have it. He hits the couple of shots he needs to. He manages to get the enemy combo taken down, and that is crucial for Froyo's chances in this round.
Yeah, big shout out to Banny, who's actually been putting up some really solid numbers this tournament in spite of some of their stumbling blocks. And, well, it's certainly looking to make that happen again. Brandslam moves forward as those soldiers start to come in. They take down Enrith. All importantly here, it's fine to trade. Those soldiers, they're disposable. They set you up for the rest of this. And building over on bats right now, Witness Gaming AU aware of their position. They're actually just going to head out to last. They're not mucking around. They're not looking to find out. And froyotech, we know they can deal with pretty high caliber.
Yeah, they're coming out swinging. Now, they find themselves on the attacking side for the first time on Snakewater here, so we'll see what they cooking for last. They have a bit of an Uber ad to work with. It's quite sizable too. If they move quickly enough, they can certainly go in before Lau ever gets close to an Uber for the Aussie side, and they will exactly do that, try to get into the spawn room, maybe cut somebody off as best they can, but then maybe just the point pressure is the thing you need instead. A little bit there. Habib putting down a lot of stickies, lots of damage. They finally find a couple, like, out frag with down, but both soldiers down, and Brandslam as well. Connor just walking on the point. The Uber's out as well for Lau, and it's just right for the pick and all these Froyo players. It's only Banny and Habida left, trying their best to get back out. They will manage to escape to mid, but there's no way they're fighting anything else, and they have to call it there.
And that's night and day, right, compared to what we saw from Froyo earlier, where they had that about 30 Uber dissad. This time, Witness Gaming AU, they don't lose any players, they back off into spawn, they understand their positioning a little better than what we saw from froyotech earlier over here on Snakewater. And as a result, they come back out swinging. They commit their soldiers at the right time and keep them alive as well. They don't commit full in to try and kill enemy? No, they fade. They keep themselves alive and they go for those recontests. But speaking of that, Paddy jumps in, almost catches down there, but there comes another. Laz tries to jump in, get behind, put that pressure onto Lau, jumps forward, gets good damage, but can't achieve anything yet. And with Habib going down as well, it's a trade of demos, and it's going to be the Uber coming out in trade as well, as all these players trying to make sure they have control of this second, clear up some of those players who are hanging like rooks, like pieces on a chessboard right now. Banny's trying to play behind Silvo and Lau, taking a lot of damage, and that means they have to back out. Cookie not able to hold a candle in that little scuffle there, and froyotech, they hold on to second and keep themselves in a strong position to push into last.
Keeping themselves in this. Another opportunity now for Froyo to get into this last, but this time around it's going to be so much tougher. They had it on a silver platter on the first attempt. Now it's more of a hunt they have to actually go for. They have to butcher the cow before they can eat it this time around. And, well, they're working against the disad as well. It's going to be a bit longer before they get their own Uber. So there's no chance the Aussies are pushing out on this one, but, you know, it's just wasting time wasting away. They don't have forever. 15 minutes might look like a lot of time, but you got to pick up plenty of rounds in that time, too, to give yourself a chance at actually taking the map. And, well, as their Uber ticks ever closer, Habib eats a lot of damage in the shutter, but we'll live for now. I find the crucial dispenser frag, that's the most important one to try and get this last push on the road, if they ever so decide to. But looks like Froyo might be banking on a little bit more, a few more mistakes out of the Aussie side before they really want to commit to this.
And they will about half the way through our time right now before we get to that infinite overtime. Banny in the position here, but Paddy bails them out, gives them just enough space to keep alive, but might be sacrificing themselves here, as it is going to be a trade of players. But perfectly fine for the side of froyotech. Using those soldiers, what they want to do is Silvo down. They might look for a chance to push in and get a little space here, but with the spam from on high, with Enrith in good position, shouldn't be too much. Laz is going to jump through, find some of that, but soldiers jump up and deny away Brand Slam for moving out with Banny, and Banny goes slow, goes down, and even now, froyotech cannot find their way in.
Can't quite find what they want to. They couldn't quite get the spam onto the sentry down. It's just a bit, they seem a bit disjointed, a bit disconnected, right? Laz is in trying to spam the sentry down, gets pressured. Nobody's really there to back him up. He gets scared, tries to jump away, tries to spam the sentry again. He's all over the place, and then it's just all over the place. That little attempt to try and peek in there. At least it's not too bad for them. At the end of the day, you know, they only lost Banny. They managed to keep themselves in. They still have a chance now with 2 minutes left on the clock. Time is ticking. The round resets the ring, and they gotta make a move eventually. The Silvos picked up the sniper rifle as well, at least for a bit. They're denied a little bit of peeking out of Habib for a bit, but yeah, it's not looking that strong for Froyo right now. They're really struggling to find something. They're just gonna off-body trade instead as they go right in on the left side, try to get down a lot of damage, but they are not putting the pressure on the most crucial player there, which would be Lau. He just doesn't have to use it all. He just gets away. No Uber used for the Aussies now. They can respond with their own. Banny even goes down. It's not looking great for Froyo at all as Drake is in. The sticks don't find anything. And these Aussies might just find themselves back on the coast to coast here, unless Laz has worked with Paddy. Gets killed. They find Enrith. That's about it with that. The rest of the team has to back out. They're in no position to contest anymore.
Yeah. And, you know, what we were talking about earlier, right? We were talking about the sentry, how integral it is to take it down, to free up those soldiers, to give you the space you need on Mars. And froyotech, they don't do that, right? They try and push on into it, and they can't even kill it, right? The engineer gets to sit there, keeping it up, denying away, and the space it provides is just so brutal. It's going to be a push forward here. Lau does have Uber, looking for a chance as the bomb comes on in. Paddy is behind, and Lau gets low, does get forced out. And it's going to be a couple of kills, but not too much as the trade comes through. And this is not a good position for Witness Gaming AU. They lose Cookie, they lose Down, they lose Silvo, and it's all starting to fall apart. That combo is now only 2 players, and, well, I think Lau will make it out, yes, but they're going to have to seed second.
Froyo keeping themselves in this, saying we're not just done yet, we're still got fighting spirit in us, and 12 minutes left on the clock now means another opportunity to try and get into this last again. They're certainly getting second, even if it's going to take a while before they really cap it off, but they still have that Uber down, which means they're just going to waste more time. And then, again, this is this last point that they've been struggling with so much. They can't quite find their way in just yet. They really have to figure out how to bust this defense on Snakewater, and it's not been working no matter what they've been trying. Just hasn't quite been working, going their way just yet. Banny again on the charge, maybe wants to take the left side as the Aussies get up on their own Uber. Abita still waiting for his own to respond with. It's getting close, but 20% takes a couple of seconds to build, and every second counts. That's another sentry getting moved in the right position of dispenser. being armor for your medic. You know, Brandslam taking the fight below. Unfortunately, will just lose down, and Uber does not get into play just yet. No, I was thinking maybe with Patty going in, no, he's not going to accomplish anything either. And Cookie has some crits ready to perhaps snipe with. Never mind. Okay, doesn't quite hit the shot. Oh well.
Unfortunate. Love that push in from Froyo originally with Paddy gaining that space and actually almost killing Enrith. If they get Enrith there, this is an entirely different story. But with that demo still alive, you can lock down this entrance. You can really stop from, well, the kind of shenanigans they're looking to get going from going on, but that's good shots. Laz, however, cannot take down Lau. Brandslam slips in and takes down the demo, however. But look who's behind. Down tries to get it, but can't quite find Hubada. That's a bit unfortunate, but Witness the Gaming going to look at that and go, well, this is perfect. This is mealtime. But unfortunately, they built more than they can chew. They're going to head back to last.
Not quite there just yet for you. Keeping this in their hands. That was slipping away from them very quickly. Sacking basically 3 players for a demo frag. Not looking that hot, but now they're on last. Now they're trying to fight this with these Uber exchanges and seeing who comes out on top. It's going to be on which Uber fades first, but the spawners are going to be there soon as well. Silva up on the Putus. He's going to shut down that point as best he can. Mow down anybody who tries to get closer. These Froyo players are slowly losing the war of attrition. Habib has like no health to contest with whatsoever, so he's out, leaving his team to die. It's only Scout Habib and Habida left, and they're once more licking their wounds, getting out of there. Aussies on the up and up perhaps again, if they fancy themselves another chance at the second. And I mean, with 2 minutes left on the clock, why wouldn't you? No need to go for the round reset just yet. Maybe, matter of fact, you can get even more as these 4 players go. Okay, nice little pipe there by Habib to keep his team in as Connor getting taken down, and that's probably enough to shut these Aussies down. As last bombs in deep as well, gets onto Enrith, but doesn't quite get the kill. It's gonna have to clean up by Habib instead as Paddy is heading below the stairs. And they find the frags they need to. This is Froyo's chance. Cookie the only one left alive, and unless he gets a miracle series of frags here, frag onto Paddy might be something. Maybe the back cap could be enough. No, he gets cleaned up, and Froyo manages to get around on the board.
Yeah, nicely done. And off the back of a bit of a slip up from Witness Gaming AU, they wanted to take that kind of, you know, well, just fight in general, and froyotech were much better positioned. They managed to leverage that well, get a good bit of damage to kick things off, and from there, Witness Gaming AU kind of fell apart. froyotech managing to kind of, well, leverage the big opening that they had. And now, we're going to go back to that mid and give froyotech another chance to try and open up Witness Gaming AU again. Let's see if they can succeed this time. And again, keeping an eye on those soldiers. As Paddy and Laz, they're so close to making something happen. And now they're sending Brandslam with behind.
They've been workshopping these over the course of the match. Let's see if this one hits for once. Laz gets in deep with a high bomb, but doesn't quite get the kills or damage he wants to beat. Meanwhile, that's on the other side. Sure, they managed to basically wipe the Aussies here, but they still lost their own medic in the process. So unless they move insanely quickly now, they're going to be stuck trying to push last again. Like, yeah, they won this mid pretty decisively. Froyo did a good job this time around. But is it enough? Is it the momentum they need? Do they have the speed now? They still only have 8 minutes to convert another round, get themselves to equalize. Otherwise, things are going to be looking dire for them. And, well, the Aussies are ready to defend. The Ubers are going to be mostly equal, and it's anybody's game still.
Indeed it is. Love the fact that they're willing to sacrifice their medic. You know, a small price to pay for picking up that mid and, well, seizing control over the pace of the game here. That's where froyotech want to be. That's their comfort zone. Let's see if they can leverage it well. Now, a big part of this is the fact that they just committed Brandslam to the behind. If Witness Gaming see you this again, they'll likely just try and pounce upon that one.
Crits?
And they've been doing well. Crits is trying to come through, but it doesn't manage to land onto Lau. They're not even taking down the sentry until just right at the very end. But this does create a big no-go zone as Laz tries to bomb. Paddy joins in. Lau's not in a great spot. They do have the Uber. They commit towards it, but it's not going to find him too much, and Habida will actually be out. But they catch all those players before the kind of Uber even really gets its chance to take, because, well, Enrith was absolutely on the ball.
Yep, they didn't get anything there. They got 1 scout frag with those crits, and that was it. Before, I mean, it faded by the time Habib got shut down, but still, you know, that wasn't looking all that hot, and nobody else was even, like, remotely healed or anything for that. They were so rushed into trying to make that crit play work that they had nobody buffed up. The rest of Froyo ran in, basically at half health, trying to just make anything happen, and obviously they just get chewed up by the Aussies, and, well, here we are. Tides are turning again, and the coast-to-coast may very well be underway if these Aussies pick up more of the pace. They've got that big Uber ad in their favor now as well, and this is where the leapfrogging could begin, depending on how Froyo play it. Naturally, if they're smart, they will probably try to be a little bit more careful about this. But at the end of the day, if you're down around, you don't want to be on the back foot too much either. And that's what they're going to try to do here. And that's a huge trap by Habib to take down Lau, to keep themselves in this game on the side of Froyo. And that is exactly what they needed.
Honestly, a godsend, right? Froyotech, they were playing relatively far forward. They could have gotten caught by that, but they have faith in Habib. And you got to, right? You got to have faith in Pipe Jesus in that scenario. Froyotech find the opening they need and absolutely obliterate it wide open with Lau dead, with full Uber ad pushing into Lars. Surely this is them evening it to 2-2.
This is their chance. If they bottle this one, it may very well truly be over already for Froyo. The morale hit would be so catastrophic off the back of it. So this is all they have to do. Push this last. Get it on the way. You have everything in your book. Get everybody buffed up. Get that Uber in. Immediately shut down that right spawn. There's no sentry in play whatsoever. Now you got to make sure that nobody can get close to that point. You got to get the stickies off as well eventually. Play that point. Play those players as best you can. There's a soldier shut down. Move down, getting out of the equation, but that's it. The Uber is faded, and they've got no positioning for Froyo. It's starting to crumble a little bit. They've already lost 2 players. They trade out for 2 on the other side, but there goes Paddy. Habib's got no health. Habib is getting taken down as well. But so much cap time. It's not going to be enough, though. It's not enough. They couldn't quite get there in time to the point. Aussies were just standing there. And now, well, they're just going to take back second and keep it rolling forward.
I honestly didn't think Witness Gaming AU were going to get players on in time. They were kind of like very careful about pushing on, right, because of all the explosives that were waiting for them. But they managed to get Cookie behind, Cookie delivering them from what would have otherwise been a disastrous situation. Some saw play going on in here, looking for a chance to get some of that play as the push comes from Kitchen here. The Uber goes right on through. They take down Paddy. Can they get anything more? Unfortunately, the trap off means they don't get much more, but they are going to get that mid. However, the Uber ad is now about 40 in favor of Froyotech.
And that is something they have to leapfrog on. Every minute counting down is just making it harder and harder for them to find their way back into this. They have to make something happen here. The ball is squarely, firmly in Froyo's court, and they have to make something happen. They have to start coming alive in these next 4 minutes under pressure and bring this back to have a chance at taking this map off the Aussies, because right now the Aussies are ruling the map with an iron fist, and so far so good. That's a nice little deep bomb in there by down to get the force out of Abida though, and that's gonna shut down Froyo's plans immediately.
And this is it. I was talking about these soldiers, man, from Australia. They're so darn good. And I love to see Down continually finding the exact kind of opportunities they need to set their team up for success. And Witness Gaming AU, they're not going to let that one go lightly. They are already looking towards this mid. They're already looking towards a push out from Saw as the demo jumps in, desperately trying to find some of those picks. They keep them alive, but they don't manage to find any actual kills. They get, they get a couple. They get 3 as I say that, but I couldn't see where they were leading in towards that. And importantly, Habida is still alive, at least for now, as the rockets come on in. A lot of damage. They take him down, and there he is. Oh my lord. The Australian player Down, delivering for their team again and again and again.
Paddy, though, still trying to make the best happen there, but unfortunately, Enruf has his combo on lockdown, has his medic safely secured, and this is looking like match point potential for the Aussies. This is one last push they have to convert. They've looked a lot more solid on these than Froyo have been. And all Froyo has to do is, well, keep themselves in this for 3 more minutes and have a chance in overtime, right? But yeah, it's not. They're fighting from behind, man. They're not looking strong at all, and it's only a matter of time as this Uber comes up now. Lau is going to get close. The Aussies are going to get themselves into position and try to see what they can do. Sentry's only level 2. The Uber comes in straight away through the shutter. Nothing to find. Everybody in Froyo is so careful as well. They know what's coming their way. The stickies are getting cleared off of a point. There's a lot of cap time being put down already as well by Cookie. Finally, some players try to pass themselves onto it, but they find Flank Slam. They find Ubita immediately. Banny on the Putus tries to make something happen. He's the sole player left alive for Froyo, and it's over. It's over.
Oh, man. Connor bombing into the right-hand side of spawn as Habida comes out as well means that there is just absolutely no gas left in the tank for Froyotech in that last. And again, it is these soldiers. They just look so darn good. And that's not to say, right, that Paddy and Laz are absolutely bombastically good overall in Soldier. This is one of the best duos in my mind in the history of TF2, right? But right now, I'm just so impressed with Down and Connor and what they're able to bring to the table. And let's see if they can do so again, because right now, Paddy and Laz have not had that same success here on Snakewater Mid.
especially on the mid fights, they get deep bombs in, but they never quite find their mark with them. Again, they find a single frag there onto Lao, okay? At least they get something, but so much damage out onto Froyo. Everybody's already dead. It's only Banny and his mid trying to get out as best they can. Sure, the enemy team has no heals now, but they don't need it. They're up 2 rounds. They got a minute and a half on the clock. Froyo has to find something, put something back on the board. Otherwise, this is very much so over for them on Snakewater. And the team that Banny thought would play 6th is currently beating him. And maybe knocking him out in 6th. That's, if there's something that's poetic, I don't know what it could be more poetic than that, honestly.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm hoping that froyotech keep this one up. I'd love to see this one go to a three-game series because this match. I mean, look, it's a 3-1 scoreline. It's very much in favor of Australia, but you see good trades come back and forth, and there's the Uber from Hubida. That's the one thing they had to leverage. Can they turn this into anything more? No, Laz falls, traded for Silvo. I cannot believe that's all they got off the back of the Uber, and now it's a 70 Uber ad for Lao in the game.
That's all they need, man. That's all they need to keep themselves in control here. That's what they want. They just want control at this point. They can, if they want to slow it down, sure, but obviously they don't. They want to win this as fast as possible, right? It's gonna be quite something if they keep themselves going with this, and if Froyo manage to... honestly, it would be something if Froyo keep themselves in this. Unfortunately, Branson going down is going to slow that down ever so slightly, and even if the re-aggression coming in, the Uber fades, Last gets taken down as well. Down another huge bomb in. Doesn't quite find the kills he wants to, but does so much damage anyway. Banny gets taken down. They find Connor on the other side, but still the Aussies in control of mid. They're just keeping this up no matter what.
Wow, oh wow, oh wow. I cannot believe that we just keep seeing really great bombs coming out that are just followed up, right? Australia seem to be on the same page, most importantly, right? As soon as that bomb comes in, they pull the trigger, they go for the play, and I'm loving it from them right now. They run away as soon as the pressure starts to come. They know the Uber dis ad is there. Let's see if Froyo can make it happen. I don't think they really feel as though they can, right? With only 20 now, yeah, they're gonna start to make themselves home on second.
I mean, you gotta still win, right? Unfortunately, for us Euros, this is completely new novel ground with the infinite overtime conflict. But like Froyo has like an insane uphill battle right now, right? They need a lot of rounds on the board, and it's gonna get more and more exhausting, right? This map's gonna go on for much longer if they want to actually keep this going and want to have a chance of taking this back. All the Aussies need is to win this round. And they're done, I'm pretty sure. So, you know, if I understood the config right, at least all they gotta do is win, and then they're on to the next map, they're on to the next thing, and we'll see them wreaking havoc there. So at this point, if you're Froyo, do you have the stamina? Do you want to keep fighting this as hard as you can, tooth and nail, or do you just say GG, go next? We'll try better on Gullywash and see what we can do there, because things are looking rough for them. They're already, they're trying their best to hold here. They do find down at the very least, but Connor trades it out for her beat, which is so much more of a crucial frag. Such a crucial trade to get. If you're gonna lose your soldier, might as well lose him for a demo, man. And it's only looking better for the Aussies as they try to get their win to second now.
But, oh my god, they're looking to trade that one out. Hubida has to flash a couple of players here. We'll have to flash Banny in as well as both those soldiers. We'll try and contain the Australian side with Laz gone, without those soldiers as well to really take a lot of control. Paddy's too low to make anything happen, and this is it. This is exactly where the Australian side want to be, with a 3-player advantage. With the Uber relatively even, they've maybe got 20 ad, but it's not going to matter. Habib holds strong, takes down Silvo, with Connor taken down by Banny as well. This could be the opportunity they need, but with all these waves in the last second, oh my lord, Laz and Paddy deliver the froyotech side, and they keep themselves in it for now.
I apologize for my foregone conclusion there. I was not familiar with your game. All it took was Laz and Paddy locking in last second, holding on to that last by a sliver, and keeping Froyo in this match for a little bit longer. Now they're still gonna be only on equal Ubers. These Aussies are still gonna be rearing and knocking at the door, trying to get this map over with as soon as they possibly can, but Froyo may be finding a little bit of second wind here, maybe finally getting the warm-up they need, maybe finally getting a bit of stable footing, just getting themselves a bit of time there. That's an adrenaline move, that one right there. That's gonna get your blood pumping for a little bit at least, and perhaps keep you rolling forward.
For sure. I mean, look, that was just a smidge away from going the way of Australia, but as I was gonna say, right, froyotech, Yes, they've got these experienced players. Yes, they've got great players in almost every role. I'm sorry, not in every role. I'm gonna be generous enough. But they've got that clutch factor. Dan's gonna try and jump on in, but Habita will not go down to something like that. However, Paddy and Laz get aggressive. They want to take a little bit more, but they can't quite find the medic here, and it will be even Ubers for now. Again, froyotech, they have this clutch factor, and if it's gonna come out, it's gonna come out on an elimination point, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's when they do their best work. Even in past lands, when they get put against the wall, that's when the dog starts barking louder. And, well, they're finding themselves the crucial trades at the very least, right? They pick up Connor now as he tried to bomb in, get him taken care of. And it's just keeping this at a steadier pace. They're clearly need to pace themselves a little bit. We've seen Froyo slow down their pace ever so slightly now that we're in overtime, right? They're certainly trying to pace themselves better, figure this out a little bit more methodically, because just throwing things out there didn't quite work. Always holding W wasn't quite going their way, and we'll see if the Aussies bringing out the rifle might make the difference for them here. Silva picking it up on the sniper class once more. This man is dangerous when he's got the crosshair pointed at your medic, or anything else for that matter, so really got to make sure you don't give him the angles you want him not to have.
Trying to get a scout here? If he catches Benny? Sorry. If he catches Benny, this is going to be a huge opportunity for them. That takes down Paddy instead. That's going to be a soldier off the board. And that does mean that there's a lot less threat onto their medic. However, that is very much a loud announcement. Hey, we have sniper. We're going to try and catch a couple of your players. And now catching that scout might be a little bit harder. Does mean that the soldier can start to slip into the back lines. It's a chance for Connor to go big for their team right now. Paddy is starting to come back, so that timing is starting to slip away as the rocket's going to come through. Habib goes down. That's a great trade, even if it's 1-for-1. That's the kind of thing you want. That's the thing kind of thing you desperately need.
And that's the power of that sniper. Even if he's not hitting shots anymore, he's shutting down that entire sight line. He's opening up so much space for Connor there. Connor was sitting in that cheese for minutes undetected, basically. Just waltzes on in, jumps on, Goomba stomps Habib, basically. And we're right back into this for the Aussies having another chance here. Now, they didn't quite convert off the back of that, obviously. But it gave them a chance. It gave them something to work with here. And the round may very well be resetting soon, unless that's another wrinkle of the burger conflict that I'm not aware of as well, that this round will also just continue. But still, the Aussies giving up the pressure. Down gets in. A headshot as well onto Habita. Oh my goodness gracious. That was unnecessary. You didn't have to do that. That's just evil. That's just evil, Silva.
That's just downright mean, right? Habita was going to die, I believe, to down anyway.
Yes.
But the headshot, that's just stunting on. Now, there is an Uber advantage, obviously, coming through here. But there's only 20 seconds on the clock before that reset comes through. So Witness Gaming, they need a whole ass onto this point right now. And they're going to look to get that space as much as they can. Laz is behind. They're aware of it. They're going to get a player on point. In fact, put all of these players on point, trying to keep that Uber as much as they damn well can. 8 seconds is enough for them to get this cap. They're going to reset that time with 4 minutes on the clock. It's go time for Witness Gaming AU. Every second they burn is a second of Uber disad, and now they're going to pop it. They're going to go in. They try and take off that left-hand side. Look who stays on. Look who stays around. Paddy and Vanny will hold on to this as much as they darn well can. And it will beat froyotech, as I said, with that clutch factor, not bowing down.
It turns out they figured out how to hold last. All they need is an insane amount of pressure. They needed that adrenaline shot. That's all they need. They like keeping it close. They like keeping it real. And for once more, they have to work their way through this on the Aussie side. Now, Froyo actually have a chance to turn the pace of the game around a little bit here. Big Uber ad taking it to mid as well. The Aussies very careful, very far back already. Not even trying to get an early force or anything. They know the situation they find themselves in. They got to try and find some stable footing again. Laz, a bit overcommitted perhaps, does get taken down eventually. Actually, it's Connor that's overcommitted. Will eventually get taken down himself, but it's still a nice trade there to just, slow down Froyo ever so slightly and give themselves a chance as the Aussies are coming up in their own Uber again now in that lobby. They're not going to be able to contest second, but they will be able to set up a last hold, and this is where Froyo really struggle and where they really have to show up now.
It really is time for them to lock in, right? Because they need to get some rounds on the board. Well, not ASAP, but it would be nice for them to do it here, right? Otherwise, things are going to start to get really bogged down. And we're already into quite a couple of minutes of overtime. And we could be looking at a lot more, especially if froyotech really want to take this to the bitter end. And Snakewater is a map where that certainly can happen and push through. So far, it's going to be dry as they want to commit these players forward. Lau is still alive. Enrith is still relatively healthy. We'll have to go back to the spoil. Lucan comes in. There comes Laz. Gets down, but unfortunately won't get much more. It's still a relatively calm situation for Witness Gaming AU. Interested to see if Brand Slam is gonna off-class here. I could see it.
Nope,
No.
Doesn't commit to anything. It's going to stay on the scout instead. Paddy doesn't pick up anything either. Maybe a cheeky spy play or something like that, but nah. They're keeping it 100. They're keeping it at the normal stuff you expect for these last pushes, and perhaps that's where Froyo is struggling, right? They're not experimenting as much with these Snakewater lasts as they might want to have a chance, but hey, it might work for them anyway. Nice little pipe there onto a beat, but it's not going to do much in the end. It's just going to pressure them back for a while on the side of Froyo and give the Aussies some more time to set up here. Again, that sentry's already back up to level 2, denying ground as it goes, and that's only going to get harder for Froyo the longer they take. That one gets taken down. That's going to open things up a little bit for them as pushing a lot of pressure here onto the lower side. Maybe that's actually where they are opting to go for at this point. Certainly trying to keep their team healed up eventually here. Everybody's eating so much damage. Paddy, Habib, both still not looking very healthy. But if they're going to commit to something, it should be from lower sooner rather than later. As down is just still not quite spawning. But unfortunately, Paddy trades his life for the sentry. And that's probably not the trade you want, unless Laz can make a miracle happen. But nope, he gets taken down. And it does not look like anybody else will be able to follow up either. Brand Slam just sacrifices his life for nothing. Perhaps this is where they want to bring out the off classes. If they even get a chance, as the Aussies are just moving forward.
Yeah, they see this pace and they're absolutely happy to match it. They get rid of trade, Lau takes some damage and they go straight for it with 3 players in that Uber in total. This is going to have to be a bit of a timing check as the bombs start to come through, but they don't lead to all too much. A lot of damage onto Silver. Lau will remain alive, albeit quite low. A couple of players going down on the side of froyotech, but not losing too much. Habita goes down to Cookie though, and that's so key. That's so important. And again, this is another step, another chance for Witness Gaming EU to lock this one out here.
This is where they find their footing again, and well, we're gonna see another coast to coast. We're going back and forth, the rope pull, the tug of war back and forth, but nobody quite managing to convert the last pushes. Crucially now for the Aussies though. They are in the driver's seat again. They have a chance here. And they have an Uber out to work with as well, even if they're not going to commit to mid straight away, as Froyo are still quite aggressively holding that as well, opting to maybe get an early force out or something like that, right? Seeing what they can get away with, but Laz might just pay with his life. He's not careful. Does just narrowly escape. As down, maybe wants to make his way through kitchen as well, catch them off guard on the side of Froyo, and the Aussies ready to pounce at a moment's notice here. They know that Froyo's close, and they're gonna use that Uber as best they can. Get in immediately. Habib eats a bit of damage, but escapes for the time being, and it's an Uber into nothing, an Uber into the air. Froyo playing that one decently well.
Solidly done. They will have about 50 Uber ad now. And I love the fact that Froyo are just happy to walk away from these Ubers, especially in the mid. They know not much is important. Down is behind. Silvo goes away for a very long time. No, only about 10 seconds left on that one. Down will not quite escape. Tried to make it happen.
Ambitious.
Tried to catch one of those players and make it out, but unfortunately did not get off scot-free at all. As actually, I think Connor goes down here as well. And it will be pretty hasty retreat for Witness Gaming EU.
Yeah, they tried to do what Froyo did last time, but couldn't quite pull it off. Unfortunately, get that Uber out, put the pressure on. They're gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way, get back again. They're gonna have their own Uber now, though. They're gonna have the Aussies with theirs, and the second fight is gonna get very interesting shortly, if that happens to be the case. Unfortunately, though, Silvo's down. Connor was still on respawn as well, so they're not gonna even opt to just go for the exchange here. They're gonna go for last again instead, as Enver finds Paddy, slows down this Froyo team ever so slightly if they want to push. But maybe they'll just opt for it anyway. High bomb there by Laz, he just gets floated by the Putas. And looks like Froyo are gonna have to bite their time now.
Yeah, I love the fact that it's just a lot of non-committal options from Witness Gaming AU. They had those soldiers forward, they took a lot of damage, and they just back off, right? They go back into this little pocket on the right-hand side for them, where they can just heal back up. They don't have to do anything. They know that froyotech are the ones who are going to have to get that control. If they want to take this last, if they want to keep things going, they're going to have to work on it. The sentry's getting built. Wasn't out earlier because they thought there was going to be an immediate push, and they were absolutely right. Witness Gaming EU are settling in to go for, well, most likely the reset, or a very failed Uber from froyotech.
Well, we'll see. I mean, you know, contrary to what we've seen so far, I suppose it would be quite something if they actually get an Uber push in for once like this. But there's always a chance that they can turn things around. That's a nice little bit of pressure there on the far side as Last goes high as well. But they don't really find that many frags. Matter of fact, they only find Connor, and it's a Beam and Habita left to pick up the scraps, aka run for their lives again as they get back out all the way to mid. They don't really want to commit too much more to this, and it's going to be the Aussies retaking their second that they so rightfully deserve. It's their own at the end of the day. It has the color of their team painted on the walls, and it's going to be once more the Aussies rolling forward. Now, crucially though, they did keep their medic alive on the side of Froyo. They kept that Uber, they're keeping that ready to go, and perhaps even go for the exchange here if they so choose.
Yeah, down, poking and prodding the saw hold for froyotech here, but don't find anything just yet. Had to back out as Saw starts to be in control of froyotech once again. A lot of players ready to pile into that one, and they want to clear things out, set up a step-by-step plan on how they're going to push out of this one, claim that second, and roll on to last. But there's a lot of time ahead of us, a lot of space ahead of us. Silver, a couple of rockets, but doesn't lose too much in the way of health. And, well, it's going to be these soldiers looking to lock down the right-hand side, who are the players to keep an eye on from the Australian side.
It's gonna be all eyes on Connor and down. Actually, Froyo opting to rotate out into the grass area here. Ambitious, certainly. They dodge all the sticky traps. They managed to get onto the point as well early on. No Ubers popped either side just yet, but Paddy's already dead. And they find down on the other side. Finally, the Ubers are exchanged. It's a little bit better for Beta. His Uber's gonna fade slightly later. Cookie will get caught as well. Can't quite escape in time, and it's looking like Froyo might give themselves another opportunity here. They are finding the frags they need to, even if they lose Banny in the process. And they still have to deal with these scouts. Silvo cleaning up two somehow throughout all of that. Still keeping the Aussies in this, at least for a while longer, but it's not going to be enough for the last load, probably, with only down and a medic trying to do their best to hold off a Beeb on their lonesome here. They'll certainly try. Froyo will take a little bit longer to commit to this as well, so maybe the spawners will be there in time. They will be. But it's not looking all that great for either team right now, but Aussies are going to have a bit of a tougher time holding last this time around. And, you know, Froyo move early here. If they move quick, they might get somebody off guard.
Yeah, focusing on the positioning was a real key thing in that Uber. And what allowed Froyo to have that edge and to get the advantage they so sorely needed. And as he said, they're looking for a chance to push on in here. They're looking at that right-hand side from the defending side. And, well, they're going to start to move on up. They don't need the Uber just yet. They're going to get that space and then set them up from there. Interesting sentry spot coming out here from Witness Gaming AU. They want to get that sniper going on that left-hand side, but it's not quite working out for them just yet. With no sentry, Laz can start to jump up on height, get some of that space, and Habib wants to lock out that left. But it's going to be squaring off on either sides of the last point as Laz tries to jump in, but just eats a whole load of buckshot for his, well, for his attempt. And it's froyotech backing out again. They know that they can just play this one slow. They don't have to commit to anything. This is, you know, the infinite overtime config. It'll lead to situations like this, and you know, with it being the home of it in Australia, America, and also Australia running the overtime config, these two teams will be very aware of the ins and outs.
Unfortunately so, I suppose. But it gives both teams more chances to shine as well. Perhaps there is a bit of a stamina play that goes into this right now, right? Just wear out your team. Just keep throwing stuff. Keep this going for as long as you possibly can. Eventually somebody's going to get tired. Somebody's going to make mistakes. And then, oh, look that. You still got 2 maps ahead of you afterwards. But this is what they came to land for. This is what they signed up for when they wanted to do this. And, well, neither of these teams wants to go home outside of the top 4 at the very least, right? Like, blazing 4th is still not on the podium, but at the very least you're in the top 4 teams on LAN. Ones that everybody expected to be. Both of these teams want to be there. Both of these teams were expected to be there, but only one can be. And at this rate, I mean, neither one is getting any closer, but at least for now, the Aussies are in the lead towards that goal, I suppose, but Froyo certainly have the chances to make something happen as they send in some sacks. Unfortunately, only trade out down for Paddy. Paddy eat a lot of damage as well there before it happens, and looks like the Aussies actually fancy themselves a bit more aggression here onto the lobby, at least for a little bit, trying to catch some Froyo players out before retreating.
No engineer right now. They swapped Cookie over onto that scout. They're going to try and keep him alive and keep themselves a little bit more maneuverable here. Ransom falls and down will be coming back on in. Enrith is oh so low, but kept alive by Lau as they just pump out that damage. Really nicely done, and they're going to continue to push on out. They're going to get that second. It's going to be back to mid, and again, importantly, Habida and Habib still alive.
That's going to keep them in this race at least a little bit, but they're going to be backing off for a while unless Habib gets another crucial couple of sticky trap kills here, which, you know, he managed to find at least earlier in this map, but This is still gonna slow down ever so slightly, and well, they do find their team, they do find their re-aggression, and they're gonna be able to push off that Uber at down. Can't quite work his magic this time around, and it looks like Froyo has another opportunity to perhaps get back to last once more. But they still have to convert it, and they've still been struggling with it. They still have a bit of Uber to work with as well. If they move fast here, they might be able to convert something off the back of it, but they have to move so blazingly quickly, and Lau is going to get the Uber now, so it's going to be an exchange at the worst of it for the Froyo team. It's not looking that good in terms of time for that Uber either, as they lose Panny, and as they lose Brand Slam. It's slowly crumbling apart. Habib is also caught in no man's land, will not even trade out for anything. Connor, okay, well, he did trade for Connor, actually. I did miss that, but still, it's just looking much better for the Aussies now. They have another opportunity to retake their second again, unless Froyo has a word with it. And down is in behind. Flank around to get that kill onto Paddy there. Frag onto Paddy, that's what I want to say. That fraggy.
Hey man, it's the infinite overtime. It's getting to you.
It's a long match, okay?
As a European, it's toxic to you, you know? It's just awful. I can barely stand up myself, but we can get through this together. We
thought we had it bad. We thought we had it bad with golden caps and golden mids. This is nothing in comparison. Ever so much more respect to my American colleagues, man.
You know, it's really sets you on edge, right? That we just have no idea when this is going to end. Whether this is going to end in a small crushing masterstroke from Witness Game EU, or whether the side of froyotech is going to be able to grind this one out, keep control, and eventually, over the course of the next, I don't know, maybe 20-40 minutes, lock this one out. Habib trying to get that spam down, trying to take down the sentry. Doesn't get it just yet. Will be a relatively solid hold from Witness Gaming AU.
Gonna keep this point locked down. The Iron Curtain is built, and it's gonna be on once more, Froyo, to find their way through it. And still, no experimentation out of Froyo at all, right? We've not seen anything to try and maybe throw a little bit of a wrench in the plans here. No snipers, no spies, nothing at all, right? They're completely banking on just the same old cookie cutter strat working eventually, and it might work eventually. If you try something infinite amount of times, it might work at some point, right?
Yeah.
But eventually they might have to think of something else. They do get the sentry, but a beep ate a lot of damage for it, and it's immediately getting rebuilt. Paddy can't even get any ground, no matter what. Laz tries to go for a bomb, but this has to surf out, and Enriv even gets the kill with the sticky trap, so it's another disastrous attempt at what ends up being basically a sack play, and the sentry's just gonna get rebuilt right away regardless.
You know, I'm feeling like this one finally might be reset. We actually haven't had a reset yet, which is quite impressive, you know. And again, I think that's because both teams are quite, you know, heavy contact play teams that really want to fight and push out and go for everything. They will absolutely fight stuff. But I think we could be looking at one right now with Brand Slam going down. You know, if I'm froyotech, I'm looking at that going, well, do I really want to push in off this? They're going to have to shave away the time at which they have left and look for another chance. I'd love to see an off-class from them here, but they don't have a lot of time to work with something like a sniper. It's a little worrisome, so I'm not surprised to see that scout remain for Branson.
Yeah, they're working with what they got, but a minute on the clock. At this point, you might as well send it if you're Froyo, right? You've got one more push in you anyway. If it fails or if it doesn't, who cares? The Aussies, they might not want to push out afterwards, even if they win, but still, at the end of the day, it's your do-or-die time for this round at the very least as Froyo. You might as well send, you might as well go. They do send in the Uber from lower. They do find the sentry eventually, but the Uber is obviously so much better for the side of the Aussies. Matter of fact, Lau barely had to flash. He was the only one caught in that Uber, and well, he had to use, I suppose. Probably didn't have to if he was in a different position, but it's enough to just slow down Froyo anyway. Now the drive push tries to come back through. Branston gets taken down immediately. There goes Habib as well. That's a lot of damage off the table, and it's looking like a round reset is ever so much more likely.
Yeah. I have to say, I'm always impressed by the Australians' ability, the uncanny ability, frankly, to just stay alive off the back of everything. Yeah. I'm just shocked. Like, I keep on looking and I'm like, how is Down, like, alive with 5 HP? And Connor's there with 20 as well, right, like, in the previous fight. It's crazy to see. The push is not going to come through. It's going to be that reset. I mean, these players are racking up points, you know, they got to get the logs in, but...
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah.
Finally, some new scenery. We're gonna see another mid fight. Look at that. That's something. That's something novel. Chat, have you been here before? This is the mid of Snakewater you're about to see. It's been a while since we've seen the last one, probably about 20 minutes, but hey, it's gonna be fun, right? We'll see which team comes out on top here. Froyo has been on top of the mids for the last few rounds, so perhaps they're gonna find themselves in a position of power if they come out on top here. But it's also been so long, maybe they've forgotten everything to do against these Aussie mids already, as both teams make their way forward now. We will probably see the soldier bombs across soon enough already. There it is, out of the Froyo side. Laz gets in deep into the combo, does get down. But that's about it. Well, Down didn't even get killed by him, it was Banny, but at the end of the day, that's the only frag they found so far inside of the Aussies. Both soldiers down. This side of Froyo, though, still pretty equal on numbers. Enrith missing is pretty bad for the Aussies, and I think that's what seals the deal on the mid fight.
Yeah, and I love the fact, right, that the Aussies are very willing to look behind and go, okay, well, let's just kill the player behind and then go from there. What I also love is that froyotech recognize this. They know exactly what's going to happen. They go, okay, well, as soon as you walk back, if Enrith, for example, doesn't try and hold us back on mid, we just walk over. We take the entire mid and we catch you on the back swing, right? However, they have to leave Enrith there, and as a result, Enrith dies, and then the mid is lost anyway. So, Froyo basically just like, forking right there to try and catch any piece that is available from the side of Witness Australia, and as a result, it's going to be a second hold straight away.
Appreciating the chess analogies, even if my elo would probably be in the 500s, but I understand the analogies nonetheless, and I'm sure everybody with an IQ higher than me will as well. But that doesn't matter, because now we're at the stalemate, and I don't think that usually happens in chess. I guess this is the type of the chess match where nothing really happens. Well, Enrith does get taken down. I suppose that's a kind of a crucial pick there, as Connor follows up with his own death as well. And Froyo are finding the frags they need here. Unfortunately, though, they get forced as well. That's gonna really throw a wrench in their plans, as Sabita's gonna try to run for his life. Silvo only has to clean up that kill, and they still got Uber to go as well for the Aussies. Lau keeping his scouts in this ban. He's on the point, does get the nice little frag there onto Lau. Like a little bandit, he's hiding around the corner. He does get that second cap finished off, and that's gonna keep Froyo a little bit of an advantage here at the end of the day, but is it much to write home about? I don't know, they did basically sack their entire team for it.
Yeah, so I was going to say that what a beautiful push and fight, honestly, coming from outside Australia. They really do make some magnificent plays, but the fact that Banny's behind, that he catches the med, is so brutal for what that was supposed to be. Now, instead of pushing into that mid, get everything they could dream of. They're at 10 Uber Desad, still holding the second, and they don't even have the players in the right position. Silver's going to try and find that snipe. Love the committal, but Laz doesn't quite make it happen. Will just about live. However, with Habib down, they're going to lose over the course of this fight, and with Hooky and Lau pushing forward, they're going to cut a swathe through the remaining players of froyotech, and that is a kind of round fight win that you need to push all the way back to last.
Froyo biting off way too much there, way too ambitious, way too aggressive straight away, and it comes back to bite them very hard. As Abita gets spawn trapped? No way, he gets spawn trapped in the forwards as well? Oh, it's going from worse to a disaster for Froyo. What was potentially at least remotely salvageable is now completely and utterly down the drain in the gutter. It's gonna require an intervention from the heavens for Banny and his team, his Froyo Bandits, to hang on to this round as the Aussies move into last. That's Brandstam taken care of immediately as well. An ambitious sniper play. Habib out of the equation. No stickies on the point. Now it's going to be on the soldiers to try and make anything happen, but they're not going to get there. And the Witness AU take the round and take the map. We're finally freed from the prisons of Snakewater.
I really did expect a desperate defense, right, to come out from froyotech, but a slip and a fumble, and with Habita falling, it falls like a house of cards, right? Without that medic to hold things up, the demo then falls not long after. That Uberad is huge, and Australia completely understand the momentum and just how impactful it can be in this game. And I think that's one of the great things about this Witness squad, is just how brilliant they are at getting that ball rolling when they can. And that's why I think this is going to look real rough for froyotech into the coming maps, right? Gullywash is a map that can be similar to Snakewater in the way it's kind of stop-starty, but with the efficacy of the soldiers for the Witness side, and the fact that we see a lot more rolls to last straight away over on Gullywash, I really do think Froyo are having a hard time holding back Witness AU.
Yeah, and it's Witness's pick too, that Gullywash map. So
exactly.
that might just compound on top of it, right? There's always some talk about how much do map picks matter, right? But I think for most players, losing your map pick is always going to be demoralizing. It's always going to put you on the back foot. You know that we picked this map, we're kind of confident on it, and then you lose it, and now you're on the back foot headed into the enemy's map where they're probably more confident. It spirals a little bit, perhaps, right? Also, side note, when's the last time you've ever seen a medic with 200 points after a sixes match?
I mean, that'll happen when you play a 60-minute
hour.
Snakewater game.
Yeah.
That is twice regulation EU sixes times. I'm not ready for that, man. I'm not ready for that.
If I speak, I'm in big trouble, but the longest an EU map goes is usually maybe like 45 minutes. Just saying, but whatever. The logs are on screen. You can see the numbers, and as you can tell, the Aussies were fragging. That's a 42 bomb by Silvo.
I mean, that is putting it lightly. The Aussies were going absolutely hog wild, and you really love to see it. I want to highlight the fact that, I was talking about all these soldiers and everything, but the players who are capitalizing upon that are always these scouts, as you see in most teams, but the Australian side is very much acting as one organism, and as soon as you see kind of, the kind of canines dig in, right, get hold of something, instantly the rest of those, the incisors, like clamp down, and Silvo and Cookie will not let you get away with anything else. The fact that as well Cookie managed to only drop 10 deaths in that entire game was a testament to how good they were at keeping Lau alive, who only had 8. This is in part because, we saw a very stop-start game where the teams were very happy to walk away from a lot of points, but it is nonetheless very impressive against, I mean, as we said, soldiers like Paddy and Lance, who are just, something else.
Yeah. But they couldn't really. I mean, they were in the mix, as you can see, with the soldiers. Eventually, effectively, they're trading blows there. Connor putting down massive damage as well. I mean, that's a lot for a match this slow.
Yeah.
I mean, like the highest DPM 260. That's low. That's low for a match. I mean, this one went on for an hour, so that explains why. But still, like putting down a lot of damage on both sides for the soldiers at least. They're doing the work that they need to, but the rest isn't really there for Froyo right now. Habib is not showing up. I gotta call it where it is, right? This is not the Habib necessarily of legend that we've been promised. This is not the Habib that we hear fairy tales around over here. He's not having the greatest time, at least on that map. Perhaps on this land even. We'll have to see how it turns, right? If with the next map and stuff. But we need to see more out of him, I think. If we see more of these glory moments, he had a few on Snakewater, but if you see more out of Habib, I think that's what's potentially going to really allow Froyo to turn around here.
Yeah.
Everybody else is mostly pulling their weight, but I think you need the core to really be there, because if you don't have the foundation of your demo staying alive enough, dishing out enough damage, and getting the damage down when he needs to, your scouts are not going to have the ground to work with that they need to. That's why Brand Slam and Banny were struggling a bit as well, right? It just kind of compounds it. It all snowballs from there. So you need to be able to get him back in the game, get him back focused, locked in, and then Froyo has a chance to bring this back on Gullywash. Otherwise, the Aussies might run away with it.
They really might, and I think a big part of that is the momentum, right? And I actually want to bring this back to Habib. I think Habib is, when he's on a roll, oh man, you're sitting on top of a roller. That's all I'm saying. This guy is absolutely cracked. We all know it. We've all heard the stories, as you say. But when he can't get things going, when it's a lot more of a stop-start and slow match, when he can't just jump in, especially against a team that has really solid scouts as well, who have been absolutely brilliant at picking players out of the sky over on Snakewater, he can't have that same effect. He can't jump in. He can't move forward. He can't get any of this, because as soon as he moves forward, he gets bombed by, Down and Connor. Like they're absolutely on the ball, and that happened a bunch on mids as well. This is the big problem for him right now, is he just doesn't have that space to work with. And Snakewater, I think, is very stifling for that. Now, we were talking about map picks. We were talking about Gullywash, as you guys can see on your screen right now. That's the map we're going into, and I think it suffices to say this is a pretty good map for demos, right?
Yeah. As far as the maps in the traditional sixes pool go, I think Gullywash is definitely in the top 3 for demos. I think this is the playground they get to have lots of little corners to hide sticky traps in, and like lots of choke points to just spam through. Right? It's a very, very much more demo centric map. Scouts don't get as much free reign.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about getting just rushed down by a scout on beam as much. So it will certainly suit them more. If there is a chance again for Habib to find his footing more and really get back into this match and put Froyo more on his shoulders as well, it's this one. It's definitely a chance for them to have that. And maybe that's what Froyo were banking on, right? Maybe they picked a map that they weren't as confident on to get more practice in, and we're just hoping that the Aussies would pick something that they are confident in. Maybe Froyo are actually really, really good now on Gullywash, right? As I've mentioned, map picks rarely seem to matter, because what teams pick, at least from talking to players at LAN here in EU, it's just kind of random a lot of the time. Like, unless you're really, really competing for like the grand finals, a lot of times players are just we'll play we'll just ban what we hate, and then whatever happens happens.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly true. But I mean, if we're talking about playing for grand finals, these are teams that names wise you're thinking it would be a shoe-in for grand finals. Obviously, don't forget, guys, we are fighting for 5th and 6th place, and I think all the more importantly, we're fighting for literally map elimination point for froyotech, not phrases you normally hear quite this low down. So if we're talking about playing for keeps, right, this is the time to be doing it. froyotech do not want to go out like this.
It would be quite poetic, and I think it would be the unbelievable birth of probably one of the greatest memes this community has ever seen. If Banny gets eliminated in 6th place by the very team that he thought would be 5th or 6th place. I don't think the greatest playwrights of history could have come up with something that poetic. It certainly is. It is just something that can only unfold once in a generation. This is a generational type of fumble for Froyo. If they don't have the brawn to back up the words they spat a couple of days ago, right?
Yeah,
they had the trash talk, they had the mouth. Now they have to have the muscles to follow it up with, and they're not looking good. They're on shaky ground. Froyo has not found themselves in this situation, probably ever in an international tournament, as far as I can remember, at least. Like they got knocked to the lower bracket a few times, but it's usually after the upper bracket final or something, right? So they're usually pretty solid all around, and they're looking shaky. They're looking shaky this time around.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's actually not necessarily down to the fact that they look particularly worse than some of the older. There are obviously prime versions of froyotech, but I think this one's pretty good, right? The problem more lies in the fact
everybody
that
else caught up.
Everybody's so good.
People finally caught up. Turns out Froyo, like 8 years ago, were just way ahead of the curve. They were just way ahead of the curve, and suddenly, after a long enough time and enough stagnation and stability in the game, everybody else kind of gets to catch up eventually. And, well, here we are. They've caught up, and they've maybe taken over, which is a scary paradigm shift if you're of the old guard. And if you're rooting for Banny, the old man himself, my favorite rookie in the TF2 scene. Perhaps now's the time to bring your love for him. But I'm sure all the fat Banny fans are going to be very happy in chat for that. I'm sure they will be.
Or they'll be wishing for the good old days,
True.
As we often see.
This tournament's not going to count, right? This isn't going to count. This is a fluke. This is whatever.
Yeah, they had to travel all the way to Denver, Colorado. Oh, it's a real problem. And they just weren't prepared for Physgun Fireside, sponsored by Physgun and Manco.store. True. I have to get the ad reads in there, buddy. Have to do it,
Very, very well. I mean, I wonder what excuses you can come up with as well. Maybe they're gonna pin it. Oh, it's Habita accidentally walking out of the spawn door. Teams. Yeah, no, that's because the Australian player models are upside down in game. That's why they don't understand it. They're trying to play sniper and shoot the head, and they just hit in the feet. There's just sense. Yeah, there's a couple of stuff things like that going on. They're just not familiar with this weird play coming out of the other hemisphere. They're just not. They can't compute it. By the way, Aussies in chat, what's the time over there right now? Isn't it like 8 in the morning or something? Having a nice brekkie, enjoying the show. I hope you are, because refill your popcorn. It's about to get perhaps a little bit longer. We'll see, I suppose.
Breakfast popcorn, man. What are you on? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe get nice egg.
They got Vegemite down there. I don't know what kind of crazy stuff they're into. Maybe a VB long neck at 6 in the morning.
I mean, that would honestly, I'd go for a VB long neck right now. For us, it's like for you, it's probably midnight already, but for me, it's still 11. So as much as I want this game to go, full length, absolutely everything, go the whole way, I'm also thinking, damn, it would be really nice to get a good night's sleep. But there are other games going on as well, which I kind of want to catch. I'm
exciting, dude.
There's this classic position when you've got matches from a different timeline. Timeline? Time zone was the phrasing I was looking for. But yeah, no, I mean, definitely if you want to catch the winners finals, I believe that's over on Fireside Casts. That is Witness Gaming EU, big up, versus like a G6, you know, two absolute powerhouses facing off right now.
Potential finals preview, that one.
Yeah,
there's a good chance.
So, certainly.
With how good though both of those teams have been looking, it doesn't even matter who wins this. Whoever's going up against either of those is going to have a rough time in the lower bracket tomorrow, and the finals may very well be what's in the upper bracket right now. So perhaps a little bit of an exciting preview there if you're looking for as well. I guess we'll have to see. Currently, players taking a break, mainly, you can't blame them for it, mainly the Froyo players. None of them having picked a team or joined, well, yeah, they're in the server still, but, you know, they haven't not picked a team yet. They're off, having one hell of a pep talk. I can know that for a fact. We don't have a man on the ground with, like, a microphone that can walk up and, like, have a camera view. We've really got to get that one day. Just go around like a reporter, just filming random team talks and stuff like that. But you know, they're huddled up around Banny. He's just working his brain. The gears are turning. And he is figuring out, he's laying down the entire script for this Gullywash map now. He's figuring out every single move and making sure, carefully placing every single checkers piece where it needs to be so he can go for the big sweep. Hopefully, that's what he's hoping for.
He's like, have you seen when you've got like the really pro checkers players and they're literally like, oh, I've only got one piece left. And then they take absolutely everything. That's Banny right now. He's prepping this one. He's gonna go down 4 rounds again on here. He's gonna get to minute 60, and then he's gonna start winning round after round after round of froyotech and kick into high gear. And then they're gonna destroy the last map. Hopefully, you know, at least it let us get a little bit of rest, a little bit of respite, as we kind of get through the rest of these games. I hope. I really want to see froyotech like show up, honestly, especially against this Australian team, because I think that this match has been really fun so far, and I just want more of it.
As much as I would love it to end in a reasonable time frame, I also don't want it to end because it's so good. We're gonna go for a short break as the players are taking a break as well, and we'll be back shortly once they decide that they actually want to play.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Physgun Fireside Denver 2025, sponsored by Physgun.com and Manco.store. I'm Rook, and I'm joined again by Cerny as we are here in the lower bracket quarterfinals, where, well, Witness Gaming AU took map 1 in a 60-minute slobber knocker versus froyotech, and now they're getting ready to duke it out here on Gullywash.
They want to close this out. They want to be done, well, for the day, I think. This would be the last match of the day, right? Before moving on to the final parts. Oh, still lower bracket, right, lower bracket semis after this as well. So but they won't just quite be done. That might actually be a motivating factor for either team here as well, considering they still have to sit through another match after this as well, after this grueling first map already. But either way, Froyo have done their map talks. Birdie was whispering in my ear that Banny had some stern words. He was very much so trying to get his team on one page again, getting them ready. Because right now, Froyo are playing a map down. They have gone down a map in the lower bracket. They are facing elimination for the first time ever in anything lower than like second place at an international tournament. That is unprecedented. That is new ground for Froyo to find themselves in. But sometimes they work their best magic under extreme pressure. So perhaps that's what they need.
Well, time and tide, however, waiteth for no man. And all dynasties must fall, at least at some point. And I would not be shocked to see it happen here, right? This is one of the most stacked events, frankly, ever in terms of TF2. So having it happen here would not be a surprise. There's so many great teams, so many great players. And, well, certainly, like, not quite chiefly, but, you know, at least vice chiefly among them is definitely the Witness Australia side. I have been honestly astounded by them. I've not gotten to watch much of them before this tournament, and I've been blown away by Down and Connor over on the Soldiers, and the follow-up from the rest of these skip players, in particular the Scouts, who are just, you know, they're just doing their job, man, and they know exactly where they need to be, and moving together as one unit. Witness AU, they look as, well, good as ever.
As unified. as ever, and it's their map to win. It's their game to win. Their progress into the lower bracket. They're guaranteed 4th place to claim, and they're Froyo to knock out. Being the team that knocks Froyo out of an international tournament on their home soil is quite the honor to have indeed. And we'll see if this first mid-fight goes their way, or if Froyo find an immediate clapback. They do get a nice little early frag onto Habida on the side of Witness, so they find that. It means no heals for Froyo. You gotta keep your own team alive as well, though. And a couple of scouts frag around, and there's a nice little rocket there by Patty to clean up a couple of players, and it's just down to Habib as the last remaining player for Froyo. So the mid is won for the side of Froyo, but it took everything they had.
Yeah, Habib delivering as we know him. We were talking about in the pre-game how much more we wanted to see from Habib, and that this map is, you know, fertile ground for him to really start coming into his own. We saw that at least in the open mid here, in the mid here, with Habida going down early. They still lock it out, and froyotech showing just how much fragging power they have available at their fingertips. Now, it's just time to channel that.
They have to keep that rolling forward. Froyo taking the driver's seat, at least ever so slightly for the time being. And it's going to be on them figuring out how to keep it rolling forward as well. This is not their map pick either, so if that's going to play anything into it, perhaps they can whip out some strategies they weren't even expecting on the side of the Aussies, as Witness Gaming AU try to just hold the second for the time being. This is a very classic Gullywash stalemate, as Froyo now try to pop through the choke point. Obviously, it's going to be an Uber response on the side of the Aussies as well. Much better Uber for them. It's going to fade a lot later. Nobody gets struggled though. Just about escaping there, Habida, but Laz does get taken down in the mix of things, and it's going to be a bit of a player ad, perhaps for the Aussies to work with. Will they just pounce on that, or stay back? That's it's up to them, and it looks like they're really biding their time with that one.
Yeah, I mean, look, pushing out from second into mid on Gullywash, it is no mean feat. I'm not surprised to see them kind of shirk away from that opportunity. With one player up, with no Uber out, one player down with no Uber up, is not really going to be something that's particularly feasible. And against a team, you know, of the caliber that froyotech is, you're not going to turn that advantage into anything meaningful. And I think it's kind of shown by the fact of what we saw in Snakewater, where if there was a disadvantage, these teams will walk away from it. They will not commit that medic. And, well, that's what we want to see. We want to see them making good decisions.
And now we're going to see this whole shebang rotating over to the big door instead, as the teams both mount themselves in here. Lots of pressure by Froyo there into the lobby, rotating 2 players in. And I'm being going for this pincer through the shutter now as well, as the Aussies find themselves with a completely unattended choke point instead. And it's going to be Froyo really trying to take the reins forward here, seeing what they can do. Perhaps get some frags early before the pops even have to come through. That's a soldier down taken care of. That's Cookie out of the equation as well. Lots of damage, and the drop coming out of Lao! Eventually, the damage is enough. Laz finds that frag, and this is huge for Froyo.
Habib's already going to start moving through. Is potentially looking to get in. No, doesn't go towards Last right away, but Silvo jumps in, takes down Habib, puts that pressure on. Doesn't get the force. Habida does manage to keep that for themselves. It's going to be Silvo pushing forward, and Habida holds their nerve, and frankly, trusts Banny to lead them through it.
That's respectable. If you're gonna have a pocket medic keeping you safe, I think that's a pretty good choice at the end of the day. Bro's got a lot of experience doing that exact thing. It's kind of his job at the end of the day, so like literally, he's doing a good job with it. But unfortunately for Froyo, that's gonna slow them down a bit. They will still take second at the end of the day, but it's bought the Aussies so much time to set up their last ult here, and they're gonna probably have an Uber ready. Well, by the time Froyo really gets in position to do anything as well, they're only 20% down now. Habib is in the lower door. Matter of fact, all of Froyo looking to go through main here. Unconventional push for sure. Habib doesn't go get the sticky jump that he wants to. Now they're finally going to get some pressure there onto that right side. The sentry gets taken care of, but the Uber is now in play for the Aussies as well, and they're going to pop it off to try and take care of anything here. Habida's already down. There goes Habib as well. So no damage and no heals. It's going to be on these scrambling scout players, perhaps to do something as Patty tries to get onto the point. Patty Laz can't really follow up either. They do trade at the very least, and it's going to be down to Brand Slam somehow beating Enrif here, and he does. The respawner with Connor is not going to be fast enough. So there you go. It was a bit scrappy, but Froyo picked themselves up around.
You know, I really thought that was going to go the way of Australia. I thought that they had things on lock, right? They came through with the Uber afterwards. I don't know what was going on with that, like, put a bunch of structures in front of the sentry. I don't know if it actually meant anything, but they managed to find what was a pretty good start to that push. The problem is is when once things started to get scrappy, froyotech seemed to have had some sort of reset, right? And they locked the heck in. They knew what they were looking for. Well, they just executed it. Aggression from Bani does set up those bombs to come through. They want to get the pressure on, and they catch Lau, but they lose Habida for it as the counterpunch is there with a 1-2. Losing out on a couple of those players, in particular those soldiers. Well, it's going to be a problem, but it's not too much without a scout in the form of Cookie. Well, Witness Gaming, they don't have a huge amount of pressure. Silver's trying to keep it up, but Brand Slam's coming behind. Everything's gone, and you could try and jump in, down, and trade, but it's not a trade you want to make.
Yeah, it's a 1 mid at the end of the day, though, for the Aussies, and they're even going to get a very slight ad, at least Lau building a slight bit sooner. It's not going to matter in the end, and it's going to give and the forward spawns here and everything for the Aussies as well, but Froyo are probably feeling themselves an ability to maybe at least contest a little bit, but the Aussies are quick. They're already in through choke. They're already onto the second as well. Bomb comes through trying to maybe do something against this combo bunched up there, but that's Habida and Habib taken care of again. They find Lau on the other side. No heals. No medic gets to play the game tonight. It's just going to be pure fragging, pure DM, and it's going to be 1 HP Bani versus, well, the rest of the team. Silva wins that 1v1 against Brand Slam, and it's another just narrowly won fight for the Aussies. They keep winning them.
This isn't Highlander. There shouldn't be one player left. I was thinking more of a traditional Highland rather than 9v9, but...
I suppose.
We're just seeing fight after fight with one player left remaining and just, you know, pushing it on from there. It's surprising to see, especially with such high-level teams, but as you said, those soldiers really being the deciding play, just constantly taking down the med, and it seems like no one can keep them alive, and despite the fact that we have some very talented scouts trying to do so.
It's how it be sometimes. Sometimes that's just how your life goes. It's Gullywash at the end of the day. The soldiers get a little bit more space to work with as opposed to, not much of a sideline for the scouts to shut you down. And now it's on the Aussies to clap back with a round of their own, of a response to that Froyo early round up. Unfortunately for them, though, it's going to be a lot harder because the Ubers are equal this time around, and, well, maybe much more equal at least, a little bit more quickly, and they're going to have to work through this a little bit better. Froyo have more defensive mounted. They're a bit more set up in their ways here, and they're trying to lock this down as best they can. Down, trying to maybe make some pressure here on River as well. Will just narrowly escape with his life. Won't eat anything on the way out either, but it's looking like the Aussies are trying to find a way in here. They're trying to really see where everything is, what they can do. They still don't really know where the sentry is. They don't see it yet. They probably can infer where it is because of that, but that's going to be a thing at the back of their minds, right? They know they can't really bomb in deep. They don't know exactly where that sentry is, what they can do here, and that's going to leave them locked down in that riverside for a long time. There they are, both soldiers in through deep into the combo. But will they get the frags they need to? Will they get the force? No, but there's the drop anyway.
Oh man,
one stray rocket is all it took.
Yeah, in spawn as well. That's got us staying if you're Habida. Felt like they were going to get it, and it just doesn't happen. I was a little bit suspect, right? With the sentry still up, was that going to find some success? But the Australians, they full send it. They know what they're looking for. They get those players in. Habida drops, and now, well, this last is looking a lot holier than it was before, right? A lot more openings available, and here comes that Uber, baby. They're going to try and rock their way through. They're going to catch Laz. No, they don't even kill anyone right now. The position isn't even good. Have you seen that sentry positioning? It's in the back of water right now, just holding things down. Going to try and hold out on the right-hand side, but they don't have the players. The respawns are going to come their way, and losing a couple of them, it's just not happening. Look at that. Silver tries to stick on the side, but Habib's just keeping them away, and, well, okay, right. We were talking before that, you know, sometimes we don't see the most creative plays coming out of froyotech, but it looks like there might still be a couple of new tricks these old dogs can learn.
Sometimes it does require a bit of pressure for them to really get the creative muscles working, but this is the creativity. We didn't talk about it in the pregame because we talked about it in the break, but this creativity that was really, really lacking during Snakewater. Froyo were just not creative to try and do anything on his last pushes. Now on his last hold, they're bringing out strategies that are completely novel. The Australian mind cannot comprehend them. Never seen a sentry in water before. It is untold stuff. None of the scriptures have ever written of this, and perhaps that's something that turns them around. Unfortunately, now the sentry's been taken care of. Bani's been taken down as well. Now it's going to be on the Pyro to try and hold this point down, and the Uber has faded for the Aussies. Still nothing close for Abida, and he's very low as well as the players just pile on for the Aussies onto this point. One Froyo falls, and eventually the second repush is what it takes to equal it out once more.
Yeah. Look, water can be a nice place to have one, maybe sometimes two players. But once you start having 3, 4, that just makes you rocket fodder, right? It's not where you want to be. And in that small enclosed space, frankly, froyotech look a little lost. They get caught out, they go down, and yeah, well, Witness Gaming, Australia, they even things back up. We're into this mid again. Let's see how this one goes, because we've had some pretty exciting mids so far, as that's a quick double bomb coming in, trying to cut them off. Silvo fights with Brand Slam, as they lose out Enrith right away. This has got to be running out here, and Lau does survive, but is low. Banny's chasing, Lau goes down. That's exactly what they need, and Froyo, they return the favor right away.
And decisively as well. They did lose Habita. At the end of the day, that's maybe going to slow them down ever so slightly. The Aussies will have some time to set up their last hold here as well. The Ubers may very well end up being equal because of it. But at the end of the day, Froyo is still back in the driver's seat now, giving themselves a chance perhaps giving them a chance to really take this into another round, pick themselves up another lead once more, and put themselves in a favorable position. Obviously, we're going to need to see some of the creativity of them that they saw in the last hold, but try to apply that to the push as well at some point here, right? If they struggle to break this, they don't really get in here, they're gonna have to try and figure out something new as Cookie gets that sentry built up and ready, and Froyo are gonna have to try and get that taken out of the equation immediately. Branson, meanwhile, just goes into water, immediately onto the point. Lots of pressure there. 2 players to shut him down, though, and a couple more cleaned up. Matter of fact, Habita and Habib just both died to a bomb while that was all happening.
As tries to jump on him, Paddy is behind. Banny gets aggressive, doesn't take down Enrith. And that'll be a clean slate to the side of Witness Gaming as they take down all of those players from the Froyotech side. They're going to get that second. They're going to look towards mid with a full Uber ad.
Yeah, it's looking great for the Aussies right now. If you're down there, if you're down under, you're cheering on your boys right now. You're having the time of your life. And it's just looking better and better every minute. Now, they still got to get into this mid. Froyo are fighting it at least for a little bit. They do find down as well. Take care of him. That's going to slow them down a little bit. And the Uber actually got used all of that out of the Aussies. Perhaps a little ambitious, trying to catch more than they could have. That might put Froyo back in the driver's seat, unless Habita can have a word with it and die mysteriously again. But for the time being, he's staying in there. Habib managing to roll the team forward. Laz does get taken out eventually. Nice little surf there out of Habib to keep himself out of harm's way as Habib gets taken down instead. And Froyo keep this moving forward. They will take this mid down. Meanwhile, goes the drop down route. Hiding below. Nobody's aware of him just yet. Nobody's none the wiser. Nobody's checked. And he might have an opportunity to find himself right behind the team here. Or he's just going to go for this scout pick instead. Or try to bomb around. Or he's just going to get out. That's fair as well. Didn't quite line up. They went big door instead. It happens sometimes, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, I respect the fact that he understands his position in that one, that he can't really make much more happen, returns to the team, and make sure they can start to lock down and buckle down on this defense.
Keep the heads in the game. Call Ubers once more, and it's on Froyo to break this last hold. They managed to do it once at the very start, catch the Aussies off guard, perhaps even with that one. Now we'll see what they try to do with this one instead. Is there some more tricks that this old dog can whip out, or are they gonna just keep throwing their heads against the wall? I guess we'll see what the approach here is going to be. That sentry is going to be the first piece of the puzzle. Habib going down is certainly going to slow things down for Froyo, though. Even that pressure out of water that they wanted there is going to have to back off, and that might lead to more players getting caught. Matter of fact, there's Brand Slam taken care of, and it's not looking great for Froyo already. It's what could have been a nice attempt into last is immediately crumbling with 3 players down now, and second maybe even having to be given up as well, as these Aussies are slowly but surely moving forward.
Yeah, Connor will catch. Oh no, gets caught by Habib. There comes the Uber, there comes the trade. And I think, well, Witness Gaming going to have to retreat here. They actually get separated. This is disastrous. Lau is almost certainly gone here. He lives down, and Connor all falling. That was an attempt from Witness Gaming that I respect. You know, they want to go for something. Yeah. They are very much a make things happen team, but they slip up. They lose a lot, and a team like Froyotech are not going to let that one go by without a response.
Yeah, that's a nasty one. That's a nasty mistake. If you had Cadis just in your ear there, he would have told you to not push, no matter what. You would have just sat on last and enjoyed it. But contrary to that, Froyo managed to get themselves another round instead. After the mistake, really the mistake of the Aussies maybe committing a bit too much to that push out. Still, plenty of time left. I mean, 15 minutes and then it's overtime, right? So plenty of time for the Aussies to find themselves back in this as well, and we'll see how this next mid unfolds. Again, It's been a scrappy one a couple of times. Froyo been looking on top of these so far, though. Down. Nice little bump there, deep into the combo. That's going to be still actually not Habita dying. I really thought Connor was going to get that one, but Habita lives nonetheless. That's both soldiers down for the Aussies, but Habita's so low. Habib as well, and nobody's connected to this medic besides Brand Slam, so they're just going to have to get out regardless. Lau has to now stand his ground against the soldier and will do so in a trade. Unfortunately, that's bad for the medic, though.
Yeah. Honourable way to go, but unfortunately, still a way to go. And Lau and the rest of their team are really going to struggle on this last right now. 15 minutes on the clock. There's a lot to play with, and there's still a lot of leeway for them to kind of strike back, but this becomes the kind of opportunity where froyotech, with a lead, that's a really scary prospect, because they're a team who know how to do, well, they know how to lock things down very, very well. They know how to do what they are trained at, and once they have the advantage, they very rarely let go of it.
Yeah, they're very much a momentum team. We saw it last map. When they don't have control, they struggle. But if they get the upper hand, they really start to snowball from there. And we'll see this in another last push potentially here as they make their way forward. Lots of damage here, Sentry taken down, but they don't find any frags. So just locking down that spawn there. Now it's going to be on these players rotating out of spawn. They find Connor immediately. A little bit of Captain getting put down as well. That's another player taking down Cookie out of the equation. Bandy's finding a lot of meat shots finally, getting the damage he needs. So that's Enrif taken care of. And there you go. The rest of the players file onto the point. It's not enough for the single heavy to take care of 4 people. And that's another round for Froyo. They're starting to run away with it a little bit. This is the froyotech of old, the froyotech of yore that we were expecting to see. And maybe they have finally arrived after Vanny worked his magic in the team talk.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not shocked to see this. I think that froyotech will start to lock in. It's not a surprise. But I have a lot of respect for the Witness Gaming squad, and I think they're people who can absolutely go tit for tat right now. If Laz jumping in, going down, that's the kind of opportunity they need. Habib is already off the field. If they could just keep their med alive, this is great. This is fine. This is perfect. In fact, Habib gets away with Brand Slam, but that's not a problem. They're going to be able to get onto the second in pretty short order. 3 seconds. They're going to be able to, yeah, no, absolutely get onto the second point, but not make too much. Wait, no. I just realized they're behind. They have the Uber in not too long, but they're behind right now. They're going to have to push in pretty quick. They're going to try and lock it up. They take down Brand Slam, and that's Habita alone. They won't go down. They will just barely live in this situation. But that was oh so close. The damage is going through. They're going to have to pop. That's fine. Sacrifice Cookie. That's not a problem. As long as you keep everything else up here, this is perfectly fine for the Australian side. That's exactly the kind of win they wanted. I didn't notice originally that that combo was behind, but that might just be the sealing of the deal. That is brutal to happen. And well, with Silvo still alive, with Lau still happy and smiling, the Down Under squad are looking to move forward.
Yeah, this is a opportunity on a silver platter. Froyo couldn't have presented it better for them as the Uber comes through the shutter immediately, and they're going to try to get Habib out of that equation immediately. Get those 6 off the point, get that cap time down. There's only 2 players alive, a couple more respawning as well, but that won't get to the point in time. There's 4 players standing on that thing. It's not going to happen. And there you go, Aussie's clapping back. It's 2-3 now, and anybody's game to still play for, very much so. A very, very interesting mistake to make there. Perhaps they just actually genuinely went to the wrong side. Perhaps they were having a grander plan, a grander strategy that just didn't amount to anything. We'll never know what the true play-by-play is on that one unless Banny is agreeing to an interview for that play. But for the time being, we're going to another mid-fight. We'll see how Froyo responds to this one as Down gets taken out immediately. But Habib is so dangerously low. He's out of the fight for a while. Matter of fact, does eventually get taken down as Habib gets picked up as well. And Habib is actually still alive. I'm just misreading names in the chat. Doesn't matter though, Lau is alive on the other side, and that's the crucial thing here. Even if Froyo win the mid now, they get the first cap. Won't matter, man, they got no Uber.
Yeah. This is a classic situation. We've seen it across this series so far quite a lot, where we trade that mid control, but the Uber advantage is still in the favor of the team without. And, well, with Down going out, unfortunately, it is going to be a little bit slower, but still a very good ad right now for Witness Australia. Let's see if they can set themselves up for a push in here. But I think, you know, Froyo, they're clued in. They know they don't want to be so close to this kind of choke that they get caught with this Uber. But there it comes in back. He's going to be pushing through. They need to take down at least one here as they get this space. They are going to do so. Paddy jumps in right as it fades. Lau is down. Everything's gone. That's exactly what they wanted to find. Can they make anything out of it, however? Can the Australians turn this on its head right now? You'd think that they'd be well equipped to do so, but Habida lives, unfortunately, as down look for a
so much
desperate
pressure, though.
chance, and Banny holds strong for their team. Oh, my captain! But they're behind with Silvo. They're behind with the rest of the scouts just cleaning things up. Banny does get it in the end for their team, but they lost their med.
That's insane. Cookie just somehow staying in there, getting that frag onto Habida anyway, keeping the Aussies in this. That's going to be a huge ad for them to work with now. Even if Froyo caps off second, they can't hang on to that for very long. They can't hang for long at all. They don't even have heals in the game just yet. Just about now, Habida's arriving with his team. And these Aussies, well, they got plenty of opportunity here to turn things around again. Now, they aren't quite fast enough to get back out to second. They're just going to have to, hold last here, stick with what they know. But they have a lot of time to set up, because there's no way Froyo's moving in anytime soon with that Uber Desat just burning a hole in their pocket. And they know they want to be up another round here if they want to make this be over a little bit more quickly. So, yeah, it's not looking all that great for Froyo right now, at least in trying to convert this. Even if they're up the round, it's going to be on the Aussies to fail this last hold, basically. And so far, they've been looking much stronger on holding this.
The Aussies are fine with just chilling out here, going for that reset. They're only 1 point behind, and again, with that infinite overtime, it doesn't really matter that much. Being 1 point behind is not the be-all, end-all as that clock ticks closer. They're very worried about a player behind. You can see already checking. They know that someone slipped by. Do they, actually? Paddy's going to use that as a chance to step forward, but doesn't commit towards it. It's that spam is coming through now onto the sentry. They're struggling to keep it alive. It goes down. And the dispenser as well.
Down in water, though. Fending off two players. Might actually go down for his trouble here. Never mind, he's got a backup. Silvo's there to help him out. That's Branson and Paddy taken care of. And that's the rest of Froyo just in river, running for their lives, getting out again. They didn't get to commit anything to that water play. No Ubers exchange either. Froyo's still very aggressive there, actually, in upper, just chilling. Knowing that, these Aussies are probably not going to be too aggressive either. They're just going to chill out. They're just going to see what they can do here. And it's on Froyo. It's on Froyo to make something happen. The ball's in their court. And trying to get into last stick, keeping that sentry on lock. That's a pretty big deal for their soldiers to get the ground they need to. Banny's in through the water as well. Just wants to get a lot of cap time down here. Soldier immediately on his ass, though. Not letting that happen whatsoever. Making sure that he's out of that equation as Soldier bombs in once more. Last gets taken down, though, and that's a player out of the equation as the counter stack comes in. Connor, and can't quite get anything down either. But still, not much of a loss at the end of the day. You got a lot of damage in, and it's just a back and forth.
Ransom is in. We'll fight away with that soldier. We'll lose that sentry again as the spam comes on through. Won't be able to take that down. There is still one in there. There's a lot of players on point right now. The sticks are there. Banny's standing on it. You need to get someone on there. The Uber is popped just in time to keep them on it. But that timer is oh so close right now. You need to retain control of it. You cannot afford to concede anything. Yeah. And with just a slip-up, Witness lose out. It's 4-2, and froyotech are on match point right now to keep themselves in and to move to that third one. And I respect the fact that Witness Gaming look at that and go, whoo! I was darn close, we lose out on that one, and we're so close to, losing this map as a whole. It's attack pause time, man.
Yeah, that's attack pause coming out for the Witness Aussie squad here. They gotta find themselves some stable footing, because they are slipping very, very quickly, and this is not looking like the Witness that were very much in control of most of the last map, even if it took forever. They gotta get themselves back in the match. They gotta reset themselves, get the mental back in order. Because Froyo are looking much more in control right now. Banny's words, whatever they may have been, however threatening they may have been, they seem to have worked. They seem to have, gotten Froyo back on the ball, back on the page. They're still looking a little shaky at times. They're not perfectly like a well-oiled machine yet, but they're looking a lot more solid than they did on Snakewater. And, they're on match point. Well, map point. So, that was a quick pause as well. Just as a very short one. They got the mid talked out, and looks like we're going to be continuing right away.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I'm excited to see if what Witness Gaming just chatted about will make a big difference. But, I mean, if there's a team who can flex around, use some of their strategy, and will respond to a lot of these scenarios, it certainly is froyotech. They have a lot of experience, and that should be able to set them up. Player in elbow. Lau is already low. Has to be worried about the stickies, and Habib takes him down. The trades are coming through with Habib going down to these soldiers. It's not quite as nice as you would like. But it is very much going to be Witness Gaming pulling that one forward again. But look at all those low health players. And with medics both down, there's not going to be the uber advantage.
Habib on lock and load, camping the forward spawn on the side of Witness here. But they're aware that this demo is behind. They're eventually kind of try to find him out, and they will eventually clean him up as well. That guy's going to be out of the equation for quite a while, and that's going to be a nice chance here for Witness to maybe move forward a little bit. Froyo are all over that second point, though. They're lacking the demo, which makes holding this point a little bit harder. You can't really lock down both doors as easily as you could normally, and that's immediately taken by the Aussies. Immediate opportunity here. Down is in with his scout buddy as well. They're going to shut down these Froyo players, and they're actually going to just rotate them out completely out of the choke. It's just a beta, and Branston gets taken down as well. It's just a beta on his lonesome, trying to maybe get a Hail Mary arrow to Lau, who was low, but no, it's not happening. And here we go. The Aussies are right back at it, bringing back another round just that quickly.
Yeah, really nicely done. The fact that they managed to catch Habib is absolutely brutal, right? You look at the second point, you're like, oh, well, that meant that froyotech were able to get the second point. But not really. They were legally allowed to stand there, but not for very long. Without the demo, as you said, they can't lock down both doors. And literally, Witness Gaming went, okay, we'll walk in. And despite the fact that froyotech hit a really nice, you know, like bomb at the same time as they came through that door, it didn't lead to enough. There wasn't enough damage, and that will be a problem for them. Paddy's going to dive far, going to try and get behind, getting that player, with Habib landing out that damage like, well, he's just happy to give it out. It's going to be brutal. They're not going to find much more off the back of it, and, well,
that's
this is froyotech going,
probably
well, take us, we're going to take you.
It turns out maybe just going fast, maybe just holding the W button is all it took. And now Froyo find themselves in once more in a prime opportunity to take home the map, bring it to an end. All they gotta do is win this last push. The cards are certainly stacked in their favor. Silva's on the spy, going for this Hail Mary stab. If he gets the stab onto Abita, he keeps his team in this. Otherwise, it is very much so over. He's directly behind him. They're bumping into him and everything, but they don't notice. And the Uber's finally popped off. They did pop the Uber anyway as they go in. He's still alive. He is still alive. Silva's still in this. He could get like a crazy chaos stab here as the cap time is underway. There's so much cap time already. So many players playing onto the point as well, and they're just finding the frags left, right, and center. It is over for the Aussies. They can't hold this one anymore. There you go. Froyo clap it back with a very, very quick second map, to be fair, compared to what was the grueling match of Snakewater. And they're staying in this. They're not out for the count just yet. We're going to map 3, baby.
I was going to say, like, overall, probably not longer than, you know, most maps, but definitely a lot shorter than the 60-minute one we had before. So very happy about that one. I'm also absolutely ecstatic about the fact that we're going to get to see Froyo go to that third game. And honestly, I'm excited for what Witness have to show us here. Again, these two teams have played over on Process before. In fact, literally yesterday. It's the one map they had played before this series in an official tournament. And it was 3-2 to Witness Australia. My problem is, you know, we're looking at I honestly think slightly rejuvenated Froyo off the back of this win, off the back of that off the TAC Talk. I think they're in a better position than ever to have great success here, and they might be sending Witness Gaming AU back in 6th/5th place.
Yes, it is a good chance. Maybe Benny will have the muscle to back up the mouth this time around. I suppose it remains to be seen, but the logs are on screen. You can see them for yourself, and, well, it was a lot faster of a game, so people actually got to do some damage for once, and, well, got to do some stuff that they wanted to, and crucially, again, those Aussie scouts were doing a lot of work for that team. No matter what, win or lose, they're putting down the damn work for it, that's for sure. Down as well, putting on a lot, monstrous amounts of damage there. Honestly, it's quite a lot. Connor wasn't having that much of a match. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's where it came from at the end of the day, right? Maybe Connor getting shut down a little bit more. Maybe Froyo having at least one of those soldiers under control, managed to do it, and also Habib finally managing to stretch his legs a little bit. allowed him to have more impact that time around. And look at that, it immediately allowed Froyo to turn it around.
I'll be interested to see whether the soldiers can have the kind of same effect here. I think that Process is a map where the scouts really can just deny a lot of what they would otherwise want to do. And that makes me a little bit worried for Witness Gaming. And,
So?
you know, I'm excited. I really want the Australian team to do well because, you know, they've come all this way. They might as well get a win. But froyotech have really started to dial things in, and I think they might have their number.
There's a chance. There's a chance. But if we're going like pure head-to-head on the scout duos here, from what I've seen thus far, obviously Banny and Branslam are a very, very solid, very good scout duo as well. But the Aussies are, in my opinion, the better scout duo here. Cookie and Silvo, when they show up, when they get their matches, and we saw that on Snake, and we saw it still on Gully as well, they do outperform those two, I think. So it's gonna be down. If it's gonna be down to the scouts, I think Aussies have a slight edge there. That being said, yes, soldiers are gonna have a much rougher time, and we'll have to see how that shakes out for either of these teams, because I think the Aussies rely on their soldiers a little bit more than Froyo does.
Yes. No, absolutely. I think that's a big reason for me. Honestly, shout out to Lau, by the way. Obviously, with these stats, Habida is, you know, a pretty outstanding medic, over all things considered, and the fact that even with a losing position, Lau had managed to output more healing, have more Ubers, and generally just find themselves in a good position is a testament to just how good they are. So keep an eye on, honestly, Lau's positioning and his surfing. I've been very impressed by them so far. Most of the time we've been seeing Lau die actually has been less to the soldiers and more a soldier plus a scout at the same time, and dodging hit scan, that's a little harder.
Yeah. It's going to be a bit tougher to do. Anyway, all that talk being said, Process, our next map. The map that these teams have met on before, the one that Froyo narrowly lost on, and most certainly have done their homework on as well, and are, you know, ready for, whatever the Aussies might throw at them. The Aussies now taking this little bit of break time in between the maps as well, most certainly to have their own strat talk to make themselves ready for what may be coming their way, and it's looking like FFN is going to shape up to be a very interesting map potentially. I think there's like only two ways this goes, right? Either Froyo has out-stamina the Aussies now. The Aussies were just done after that first map. They, you know, managed to narrowly, well, not narrowly, it was like a 4-1, right? At the end of the day, it just took forever.
Yeah.
they managed to like get that one done eventually, and just got tired, right? Froyo have more stamina. They're maybe more used to these grueling long matches, even at LANs or whatever. I don't know. I haven't really followed the Aussie LAN scene, right? But perhaps they just got the stamina more. They got the experience, perhaps, as well. Banny knows how to keep his friends, well, tentatively, I suppose, in check still, and gets them motivated or whatever, right? If we're gonna go for the stamina battle, what I'm trying to say is that there's a good chance that Froyo has the edge there at this point, but I don't. That's just mainly because I don't know where it stands for Witness, right? So if we go into that, there's going to be another grueling long one. Perhaps that's where Froyo has the edge. That being said, I don't know what to expect at that point, right? There's a good chance that the Aussies are going to bring everything that they have. They're going to make sure that Banny eats his words and the poetry does come to fruition, and we will see Banny eliminated in 6th place. Anything can go. Anything's possible.
You know, I think you're absolutely right. I would love to see, you know, I mean, look, either Banny has Apollo's gift or Banny has Apollo's gift negative, right? Where he bet that someone else is going to be 6th, then, you know, actually, you know, it would be kind of, you know, traditional Greek mythological fashion to be hoisted by your own petard like that. So it would be funny, for sure. But I think the important thing to keep in mind that it is really down to these players, and the players that I want to highlight, as you said before, are the scouts. Now, the reason I want to highlight this so much is actually talking about medic, beam percentage, right? Sorry, not medic. Beam percentage is what I was looking for. So we were looking at Gullywash, right? And in general, that Habib takes a lot of that beam. It takes more of that beam than the rest of his team, right? Taking 24%. Over on the other side, we actually saw 24% plus, even going to, well, the scouts, right? There's a lot more of that focus towards it for Witness AU than we see from the side of froyotech. So I think that in a map which is going to prioritize the scouts a lot more, they should have the power to push it over the line. See, I look at 3-2 and I'm like, oh, that's close. But with overtime and the way the overtime works, I think, from an EU perspective, that maybe it isn't quite as close as we think it is. It's just getting that lockout right at the end with this infinite overtime config that really changes how those scores actually look.
This is possible. I don't disagree with that point either. I think it's going to boil down as well to the strategies they find themselves in, right? Like, obviously, this little break we're having now is because the Aussies are having their strat talks. They're taking a little break. They're making sure that, they got themselves in the right mind space. They also know what is at stake here. They came into this tournament as the best Australian team of all time, according to literally every Aussie you've ever asked about this, right? They're the best Australian team of all time, the best they could have ever fielded. Better than Jasmine T, better than IG. They are really, really trying to drive home that Australia can actually hang on the international stage. And it would be probably hugely disappointing if they somehow end up placing lower than both previous Aussie teams on an international scale. Now, part of that is obviously because the competition is so much more stern this time around as well, right? So much tougher in the competition, not just outside of the top 4 teams that everybody's talking about with G6 Froyo and the Witnesses, but also just the mixed teams that have decided to show up to LAN and really throw a wrench into things. This is the biggest talent pool of the best people in this game that we've ever had in one place, probably. If that venue burns down, TF2 is not going to be the same anymore, is all I'm saying. Like, if enough people get caught in that fire in there, we're going to have a big problem at the top. So, it would be both terribly disappointing, but also, I don't know what, I don't want to go into that talk, like the defeatist talks too soon, right? But what if you actually, what puts that in the mental state? What does it put you on when you're like, man, we're the best Aussies ever and we still couldn't hang? That must be gnawing away at least a little bit, right? Just a tiny bit.
Absolutely, but I think
the nerves,
more than anything, it sets you up, right? And this is where you really, show your mettle, right? When it comes down to the very bitter end, when you're in these kind of situations, when you're in elimination point, what do? Do you back down? Do you falter? Do you fail? Or do you keep going? And, this Aussie team so far, they've managed to show us some brilliant play. I think they have it in them to deliver and continue to grow in the moment. And that's what we need to see right now. We actually saw it from froyotech, I think, on the previous map, coming off the back of what looked like, honestly, a very lackluster and very muted performance from them. I want to see more from this Australian team, and I know they can deliver. I've seen them do wonderful things in this tournament alone. I just need to see that little bit more to get them over the line.
It's got to be the motivating factor. What's going to sit in your mind more? Disappointing your whole continent by just not quite living up to the performance you might want to set for yourself, or bloody eliminating Banny on his home soil? What's your motivator at this point, right? I would argue,
guts, no glory.
If I was in their shoes, just the tantalizing offer of really sticking it to Grant the bandman Vincent. I think that's going to be a big motivator. That's going to drive a lot of force for them. And if they can get themselves locked in, this could be a very interesting map. All that said and done, right? Players seem to be getting ready sooner rather than later. Just one Froyo player still taking one Aussie player taking a little bit of a break with Enrif. So I suppose it's a good time as ever, or to make a bit of a prediction. What do you think the bless you? What do you think the scoreline will look like at the end of this process map?
Is it a cop out to say 3-2?
It's a safe bet for sure.
No, I think it's either going to be 4-1 to either side. I think it could go either way. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm going to go with the Australians. I think they can take this 4-1. I think they can be more confident than ever. We've seen them already play brilliantly, and I think in spite of the fact that the scoreline was 5 points for froyotech, the previous map wasn't insanely dominant. It was just a lot quicker. And Gullywash is very much a map that can get rolled to last very quickly. It doesn't have a lot of those stop gaps like you see over on Snakewater that kind of, stop the fire from spreading. I'm not surprised to see it get very high points. I think this map will be similarly high, but I think it'll be off the back of, honestly, just some really terrifying performance. I do think this map actually might go quite long. Unfortunately, I don't know whether I want that to happen or not, but I think this map will actually go quite long.
That is very realistically possible, and I don't envy ourselves. I don't envy JMax. We haven't produced it either, but that's what we signed up for. That's what we're here for, and I suppose we'll see if either team can stick it out as well. Because at the end of the day, this is the crazy thing for both of these teams as well. I mean, it's late for us. It's not as late over in Denver, but still. They still have another match after this. Whoever wins this still has another lower bracket match afterwards, as far as I can understand it. Which means they still have to fear that elimination after the fact, right? Sure, it'll be in 4th place instead of 5th or 6th, which is a bit of a change-up. This might be, might be something that you can rest your laurels on a little bit more easily, but you're in it for the long run. The second day of LAN, this lower bracket run especially is always the most grueling part of any tournament, and it looks like the teams are ready to go, taking it into our 3rd map. 1 apiece so far, with Witness taking the first one in a grueling 60-minute match, and then Froyo clapping back rather quickly on Gullywash, now onto Process. And both teams really not wanting to go home empty-handed, really wanting to continue this tournament into at least the top 4. We'll see how this first mid sets the stage, perhaps. Habib already rocking the lock and load rockets. Last with a deep bomb as well. That's Enrif taken care of as the first player. Make that 2 of Lau and Connor now taken out of the equation. Habib does die eventually as well, though. On the other side, it's going to be down to pure DM, and unfortunately, the health is just so much better for Froyo. Unless Cookie can work his magic here. Habib is very low. Might be in a little bit of trouble. Does get the trade onto Laz, but that's it. And that's a 1 mid from Froyo, albeit barely.
This is going to be about, 10 ad, I think, in the end. Not very much, but at least a little for Witness Gaming. They are going to be able to hold that second pretty handily. And should be pretty happy with where they are, all things considered. Because when you lose your medic quite so early, things can get a lot hairier than this. So the fact that Witness Gaming EU didn't lose much more, pretty fine for them. Process is a game where rolls to last can happen. Map where rolls to last can happen. Not quite as bad as Gullywash can be, but certainly can be indeed. As you know, you see Habib jumping back and forth trying to find something. Paddy getting low, but the pressure with the Grand Slam onto Silvo is quite a lot, as Banny already gets aggressive and sets up the last go for that bomb, actually trying to catch Enrith here, and does just that. They actually catch 3 in total, and this is just straight to last.
They're on form. Habib has showed up. He's finally locked in. That is a huge little nuke there. Mighty oxymoron. They're getting that combo down immediately. The Ubers popped out as well out of the Aussies. That's going to be out of the equation for this last push. They didn't have to use outside of Froyo at all. And it's looking ever so slightly better. Step by step, Froyo are gnawing away, clawing away at these Aussies. And they might just convert this into a first little round for themselves on Process. That being said, plenty of time to go, plenty of things that can go wrong. Silva on the sniper again. Seeing if he can maybe catch somebody out as they're opting to go for the far side here on the side of Froyo. And they do find Enrif again immediately. They got that demo on lockdown right now, getting horribly destroyed every single time. Lau taking out the equations. Well, no heals for the side of the Aussies here. They find a couple of frags onto the Froyo side, but it simply might not end up being enough. Actually, might not be enough for Froyo. Habida trying his best here to take on 2 scouts on the point. It's not happening. Not a single hit was landed. The Aussies hang on to this, and that scout duo, Cookie and Silvo, they're making the name for themselves. That their reputation precedes them. They hang on to that point. They take back that second for themselves as well, and the Aussies are right back in this.
I was not optimistic for Witness Gaming's chances in that one, but the fact that they managed to keep those soldiers and those scouts alive for quite so long is again something that I was highlighting before. These guys, they understand when to walk away. They know that they don't have to commit to every fight completely. They don't have to throw bodies on the point in the same way. They can walk away, keep themselves alive, and play for that later part of the fight. And that later part of the fight seems to come quite often with these two teams, as they trade players early, and then from there, It's that melee that really comes afterwards. And, well, both teams seem to be having a bit of a whale of a time in it right now. As Habib sets up for some of that spam, trying to find some of that damage. And this guy has been absolutely wonderful, as you say, so far. And Rift gets aggressive, goes far. Habib is low. Laz is low, but doesn't go down. And it won't be any picks, but it will be that mid. And again, Witness Game AU, not EU, Ubers have been great at taking points, but not really finding much else.
Yeah, those zoning Ubers, they've been doing them quite a lot on these mid conversions. Last trying to maybe get a bit of ground here, just trading with his soldier buddies. There's Connor on the other side getting taken out. It's a trade out for a soldier, and it's going to be the Aussies backing out. They couldn't quite get that early force out of Habida that they really wanted to get. That's going to set them back maybe another point as well, as Froyo are ready to send that spear on further. A single soldier missing on either side isn't really going to make any team take their punches. See, Paddy eating a lot of damage though, is down. Just manages to slip in. Connor's back up to the fight as well. And quite get that one cleaned up though. Silvo is taken out of the equation, and it's going to be the Aussies just having to back out. They can't commit to this any longer. But crucially, they've gotten that Uber up ready for this last hold that will unfold, unfortunately for them. But Paddy can't quite get any early damage down, and that's down and Connor out of the equation immediately. It's looking like Froyo might just have an upper end here on this Uber, on this blast, as the Uber is popped out both sides.
Lao will keep their team alive as Enrith is forced back into the spawn. We'll have to resup. Is coming out that right-hand side with Silvo over on the heavy. Habib is spamming them down. Doesn't kill anyone, but the rest of the team is falling as they burst out left, try to catch them, take down Lad, get some damage, but don't, importantly, take down Habida. Manages to slink away in this one. Paddy wants to make it happen, but not quite, unfortunately for them.
Look, Enrith was getting shut down quite a little bit. I can see why they were trying to focus him down so much. That's a nice little pipe there laid in the middle of the air, and that's gonna shut down any sort of aggression that it could become the way of the Aussies. They're gonna retake their second. They're gonna get Silva on that sniper as well on second here. Interesting play into this ad. Certainly could catch out Froyo if they go aggressive very quickly.
So something I want to talk about quickly is target priority, right? So far, I think that there's been a lot of focus onto Lao, right? And Lao has been eating a lot, but has managed to do well, and they've defended them well. I'll come back to this point in a second as the bomb comes on in. They take down Connor. They use the Uber to get in. And this will be waiting to push him past. As I was saying, right, so they managed to, well, get towards Lao, but very rarely kill them. Now, they've changed that over to Enrith, and they've caught Enrith a whole bunch of times, and Silvo says, "You're not catching me, buddy!" Takes down 2 players and sends them packing.
Wanted to have a combo? Well, it's not happening. There's a couple of players crucially taken out of the equation. Habib just narrowly escaping as well. They find Laz in the shutter, who, well, could have probably gotten a lot there. Doesn't quite get away with it though, and here we are with the Aussies turning things around. Uber now in their favor. Are they going to do that zoning Uber on mid again though, or have they learned from their troubles? Gonna go for IT instead, a lot closer this time. They still use the Uber though, and there's nothing to use it on. Nobody, no targets, nothing. Once more, they fall for the same old trick, the oldest trick in the book. Why change it if it works? They get mid off the back of it, but they're just as quickly gonna have to go back to their own second. It's just leapfrogging back and forth here, and Froyo has been a lot better at taking this mid without having to use their Uber. So unless these Aussies have a response to it, want to get this Uber out of the equation early, they're being a bit tentative, they're being a bit passive, they don't really... There's a bit of a bomb there, it is enough to get the force out, down, managing to pull the weight he needs to, but that's a Silvo caught as well. That might just be enough for Froyo to keep moving forward anyway.
And again, look, that's, well, instantly, getting damage, takes down Enrith! That's exactly what they need, with 2 players down, and, well, one of them being majorly important in that demo. This is brutal. The Uber is going to be up for Lao, however, and I think that does mean there's not going to be this push coming through. So that is a saving grace for them, but if it weren't for that Uber, I think there would have been another round on froyotech's board.
And there's still 0-0. We're 8 minutes into the map. It's been a while since we've had a map in this series where they didn't just convert one that quickly. We actually have a bit of time to wait here, a little bit of slowdown. Both teams taking it more carefully. At the end of the day, the Aussies have their Uber. Froyo's waiting on theirs for this last push as well. They want to get themselves established here. They want to be able to do this right, and obviously you need an opening for that, especially when these Aussies are very keen, very keen on making sure that Froyo doesn't get too much space to work with either. At the end of the day, they have to give up lobby though, and that's where most of the pushes will happen from. And it's on the Froyo soldiers to maybe make something happen as well. The sentry is in play as well for the defense, so it's a tough one to crack at this point. They've taken too long to really get established here. They're trying their best to get through that right side. Laz eats a lot of damage. Eventually, Ranslam will pay with his life instead. Paddy also going dangerously low. Everybody just trying their best to get through there and eating so much damage, not getting anything done. But hey, at least they tried something.
I want to come back quickly to that talk I was having earlier about the focus going onto Enrith. And the reason this is so effective is because Enrith does not get as much beam as Habib. So that means in these spam wars, it's getting a little bit of chip on, right? And as soon as Enrith gets low, you see those bombs coming in from Paddy and Laz, and it can be absolutely brutal. And without the demo, I mean, we all know, right? Without the demo, most of those holds are just not going to work in the same way. That's how impactful those stickies are.
We have the sniper coming out of Froyo. Ranslam. Finally, they're using some creativity here. At 8 peak, they're immediately through one. Won't quite get the angle he wants to do. Now the Aussie's aware of that sniper as well. Lau, very much so positioned to make sure he doesn't get his head taken off anytime soon. And Ranslam trying to really find those angles. That's what he's the X factor for now. Froyo not running the sniper that often so far in this series. This is the first time they're really bringing it out in full force on the offensive, trying to make something happen with it. And well, Aussies are playing around it mightily fine. They're really getting those angles unlocked, making sure nobody's in them, but that also means that opens up some opportunities for these Froyo soldiers, perhaps, to really slip on in there, see what they can maybe do. It's really Froyo's play here. They gotta get Ranslam into a position where he can do something here. They gotta get him to somehow get a shot off on something. Or they're just going to Uber in and take down the sentry immediately. I mean, it might do something. The Uber obviously comes out of the Aussie side as well much later, much better. Habib will actually get caught as well, doesn't quite escape. So that's a failed last push out of that. The exchange not going their way. Banny gets taken down, Laz gets taken down, Ranslam still alive just about with the combo, eventually taken down as well. It's only Paddy left alone as his medic gets taken down, and he is well out of harm's way on mid. This is the Aussies being able to slap back and probably get this even further going. Although Habib does come up on mid in time, so at least put down some stickies to maybe catch somebody off guard.
Six on the roof, Connor sees them in time and doesn't land on that height. Enrith is going to set up the rest of their team as they take control of this mid with that choke locked off, means Habib can't get up to any of his usual tricks. Settling into second, Froyo trying to build up that Uber, but they do have a diss out of about 50 right now. And Witness Gaming, they know it. They're looking for a chance here. Already they've got those sticks. There goes the flash. Enrith goes in. The high bomb to try and come on through. They commit towards it. They only get Paddy. They will at least get the second here, and they're going to build that one up. Feeling like, potentially, Habida is not going to be able to really push out of that last with the Uber, or at least effectively, and they can take this, position and just build up to that Uber as long as they like.
Yeah, it was starting to look like another one of those Aussie Ubers that isn't really going to go their way, right? But unless Froyo are really feeling keen here with this Uber, they're going to have to... I mean, the Aussies are putting the pressure on, though. They're really waiting, letting Froyo have so much ground here. We're just walking so far forward. Nice little pipe there as well. The Uber's finally popped out. Abita goes dangerously low for it. Now the Aussies just have to kite it, make sure they don't get caught by it, and they'll be able to leapfrog right back at it immediately as well. But maybe playing it almost a bit too passively for the Witness boys there. At the end of the day, they managed to get through with it, just as it should be. But they're giving Froyo a bit of space. A bit more than they perhaps should have. Now they have to claw their way back into the second. They're eating a lot of damage already. Lau actually gets forced out as well. Nice little bomb by Paddy. Managed to get that one in. And again, it's basically an Uber for a soldier traded out. And we've just reset back to where we were. And now the Ubers are offset enough that Habida might just fancy himself taking his boys outside of last again.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
They should be good too. They should be good too. I think they can make this happen if they catch a couple of these players, but no. Okay, no, I'm wrong. I think
slow.
I think honestly they're just way too far
Habib
back, and Habib can try and make this happen. He might even catch Connor. They do catch Silvo, who's trying to do something a little bit ratty in the back line. You see that Town almost gets in. As you can see, they try and do so, but it's not really enough to make much else out of. They're going to get those spawns to come through. Backspawn Silver will backspawn down. The Uber just goes on in. They are committing with the players. They do not care. They do not give a flying chance here as they just set up, get that damage down, lay it out, but they overextend their medic. And, well, unfortunately, Enrith just can't be in that position. Down is looking for a chance to maybe catch someone, but Habib's not going to let that happen.
Habib's got this second on lockdown. Also, that Uber just walks right past him. They just completely ignored Habib throughout all that exchange. He just waddles on the way, gets into safe space, and another rather unfocused Uber by the Aussies. They seem a bit scattered. A bit tired as well. I mean, it's been a long day. It's been a long series, so it's not necessarily surprising. But they're not finding any focus with these Ubers anymore. They're just sending whatever they can into the wind, and this might be another grueling map that's going to take a little while, just due to the nature of the fact that neither team can really get much stuff done right now, right? I don't want to invoke, I don't want it to be happening, obviously. I'm not going to jinx it, but at that rate that we're happening right now, both of these teams struggling to really find exactly what they want to know. A bit of an Uber ad for Froyo means they're going to be pushing themselves into this mid here as well. Last bump in as well. They find Banny immediately, though, and that's going to put any sort of stop on whatever Froyo would have wanted to try into mid. Equalize the Ubers. Aussies have a chance for themselves to maybe take the seat forward if they so desire, because Banny's going to be respawning for a while longer. And perhaps that's exactly what they need. Just a bit of aggression immediately. Both of the soldiers onto the point. Huge damage right away, but not anything to clean up with. They lose Silva, they lose down as well. And they get the Uber Force for it. 3-4 and Uber Force, probably alright if you can keep your own safe.
Again, you know, conceptually, I think, you know, this is not bad, right? Getting Force is obviously great. The problem is, if this push doesn't work here, and I'm really suspect of this push, this Uber straight in, decision from the side of Witness Gaming AU is really suspect. They lose Enrith again. Sure, they trade a couple players back and forth, but they're going to be on Uber Desad again. They don't actually find a huge amount. Habib is going to go down at the very end here. Doesn't take down Lau very importantly here, and they actually might get Habib. Look, this might go the way.
Oh no,
in fact, it does go the way of Witness Australia. But again, I'm really worried about their approach to using Uber. I love the fact that they're really willing to just, you know, send it, just go for it. But there's a lot of times where they're like, let's just pop it. And they don't even know if their enemies are in position enough to catch them. Because there's a world where froyotech just walk away from that one, give up mid, and we're just back to the exact same scenario again, just ping-ponging back and forth. And it's worrisome, because one slip up and you could just lose everything. In fact, pretty much like froyotech just did. It's going to be the Uber now coming through from Lau. They're going to make a good use of it. Can they finally open this up?
Can this finally be a round convert for the Aussies? Lots of cap time on the point immediately as well. That's the first frag going their way with Last taken down. Silva in from behind as well. Managed to get through the panic room. Lots more cap time. Just needs to be put down, but they need to get that demo out of the equation as well. They're rotating around. That Heavy still in play as well with Banny, just laying down so much damage, but the cap time is finally put down. So close, just one more little inch, but it's just not enough. They can't get the players on the point in time. And once more, Froyo hang on by literally pixels of what could have been cap time, probably mere microseconds away from a round finally being converted. And yet again, Froyo are now in the driver's seat. Huge, big Uber ad to take it forward with, as well as they roll it into mid. And perhaps they can just end up leapfrogging this coast to coast all the way, get it themselves. But the Aussies are going to at least try to put a stop to that as best they can.
Again, the Aussies are looking for a chance to kind of open up that last, and they had full Uber ad, man, like, but it still doesn't lead to it. I'd love to look back and then figure out what's going on, but when they're ceding Uber control like this, you know, it's looking real weak from them. And they lose down. The Uber, yes, was expended by froyotech, and they're going to push into this last, so it might not be the be-all, end-all. The cap's going to finally come through. They can look for a chance. There's players over the left-hand side, so need to be very careful as they use an Uber of their own to continue this fight. But they lose player after player, and all they claim is Laz and, yes, some positioning. But here comes the push back in. Instantly, froyotech see the opportunity and they reap the reward. Lau cannot stand up to that kind of pressure. And froyotech, they take the first round here. They take first blood. But it is like, I don't know, 18 minutes into the into this game, sorry?
Yeah, that's a long map. Both these teams not wanting to give the other team an inch, but also just constantly losing at the very last mile. Just the very last little bit that they can't quite round it out. Eventually, Froyo makes not enough mistakes, or rather the Aussies make enough mistakes for Froyo to benefit from. And we're back to another mid-fight. Now, it's not lost yet, anything. Anything can still happen at the end of the day here. It's going to be decided by perhaps the fate of this mid-fight, but it's going away of Froyo right away. Crucially, though, they did find Habita at least on the other side, so no heals out for the side of Froyo. Will it matter if the entire enemy team wipes Connor on 1 HP? Not going to trade out for anything. Well, I guess he got Banny, not Banny, sorry, Patty right before that. It's going to be Cookie versus Banny. Unk versus Young One. Who's going to be the one to really decide it here? Cookie, sorry, got the upper hand. He might just end it out in the end. No, Banny gets the pack. Still is on the cap, though. He still has control for it. And it looks like the Aussies might just win. They might just win that mid. It's going to be another refight, probably.
I mean, almost certainly. Beeb taking some shots. Does have to be careful, but does make it out. Doesn't take too much. It's going to be our second control again for the Australian side. Sorry, for froyotech, apologies. The Australian side are looking to push him.
They have to put a round on the board, and then another couple if they actually want to win this, right? It's still anybody's game, anything to go for, plenty of time to play, and plenty of time for the Aussies to make their move here, but they do have to start moving eventually. They're down the round, the ball's in their court, they gotta start putting something in there, and Froyo, if they want to slow the game down now, if they want to give themselves more time to work with instead, that's certainly something they can do down. And with deep bomb immediately, huge, directly, a nice air shot as well.
Oh my
Absolutely
Lord.
Beautiful, clinical textbook. That one is definitely going in the folder. That's what we like to see. Habita, you're having a rough time. I'm sorry, but hey, at least you went down in an absolutely stylish fashion. And this is the Aussies just push rule. Now, they did lose Cookie as well. Habib gets a nice little trap there to finish that one off. And if the Aussies want to slow it down a little bit again, fair enough. They got the Uber ad to work with, but they have to lock this in. They have to be clinical about this. They're still down around anyway. And they want to make sure that this works out perfectly as the Uber finally comes out. They're getting into the second as well. They have players behind. They have players dealt with. 2 soldiers down for the side of froyotech here. But the rest of the team has already escaped out to last for the most part. Banny might just get caught. No, but he lives. And down, taken down again as well. So, Froyo will hang on for the time being. But second hasn't even been capped yet. It's going to be on the Aussies to really clean this up eventually. And they will. They will.
Yeah. They get that cap. They will be there. There is about 25 Uber ad for Froyotech. I think very sensibly, Witness are looking at us and okay, well, let's play far back. We don't want to get caught here. We don't want to lose too much. But Froyotech see that. They see that patience. They see that reserve play, and they're like, it's time to go.
Silva just gets away with it.
Wait, what?
Silva just slips through. They neglected to check every door and every nook and cranny. And my boy Silva just right slips on through there and equalizes it with the back cap. That's going to be nightmare-inducing for Banny, I'm sure. And here we go. They're right back in it just like that. Can't quite get the push down. Doesn't matter. You just have your key player, your star scout, slip right into last, and it's anybody's game again. As we're finding ourselves with 8.5 minutes left, 1-0 for both of these sides. Neither team giving this one up without a fight. Ooh. And here we go. Another mid-fight. Lots of damage laid down both sides here. Lau eating a little bit. Last in with the deep bomb as well. They find that frag onto Enver once more. That's Lau taken care of, but all heals falling on the other side as well. Again, it's a scrappy mid-fight. Froyo better on the players and on the health now, though. And that's still taken care of. Down the only sole player left. Can't do anything by himself. And it's going to be Froyo moving forward once more. Have him back right away.
Yeah, it is going to be even Ubers, but it is very much going to be a last hold coming out for Witness Gaming AU. They're going to, I think, really struggle to, well, get much going in this one. It's going to be off the back of a pretty crazy joke. Whoa, that is a terrifying spot to try and push out of. Just peeking one. I don't even know what they were peeking one for there, honestly. We need to see that energy come on out. Cookie does go for it now. I need to see them just lock in here, right? They do not want to see this one. They do want to They do not want to give that round control over to Froyotech right before we go for that overtime. Only 7 minutes in it right now.
Yeah, and I mean, 7 minutes to close out on regulation time at the end of the day. Got plenty of time to play for. This is the Classic burger config, the Banny config, you're gonna have to deal with that. Habib, a bit too aggressive there, a bit too far forward, gonna get taken care of. Brandslam as well caught, and there goes Patty. These Aussies are finding the frags they need to keep themselves in this, give themselves a chance to actually push out as well if Froyo don't wish to trade this, which they certainly do with their aggressive positioning. There you go, the Uber comes out of them. Obviously, there might be a response out of the Aussies, there might not be. It takes a little while, but they do get there eventually, and here we are.
Hey.
Much better Uber. Will they actually be able to get the frags they need to, though? No, they're not finding anything, even the post-fight. It's completely useless. Doesn't matter that they got the Uber off so much better, because at the end of the day, they didn't find anything with it whatsoever.
And this is it, some sloppy fights, some ill-advised Ubers, and now, again, froyotech are knocking on the door of Witness Gaming AU. Trying to jump on in, Habib is taken down, that's important. Cookie does eventually fall. Paddy is in a great spot, but Lau keeps them alive for now, just trying desperately to keep their team up and healthy. Habib is oh so low, just a couple of shots would do it, but Paddy is continuing that fight, the good fight, to try and keep their team in it. But he falls. Now there's the chance. Connor needs to go deep, wants to finish off Habida, who's about half health right now, and is looking for that chance. Can they get the bomb? They get good damage, but it's not quite the kill, unfortunately. Instead, they get dangerously close to themselves, as Paddy really wants to make short work of that flank scout, but instead Silvo picks them out of the air alongside Laz.
Silvo had that one moment in that Uber where he beefed his shots and it immediately changed something in his brain. He turned back on. Incredible headshot on Laz to take Habib out of the equation. Back to Scout. Immediately turns the fight in his favor. Unbelievable play. Bro is still locked in. A little bit of a slip up like that happens to the best of us. Clearly he is still very much trying to be the playmaker for the Aussies here, and they're just gonna keep this momentum rolling forward. Both teams equal Ubers down. Gets air shot twice. That is just nasty. The lock and load is a weapon that should not exist. But here we are anyway, and that's what happens when you try to bomb against it. Oh well, Laz tries to respond on the other side. Lots of backup there by the Froyo boys as well, but I don't really find much more than just a little frag there onto Silvo. Again, that's a playmaker out of the equation though, and well, here we are. Froyo back in the driver's seat.
Laz joining up with the team, getting that health going, but they're going to have to walk back through the choke, right? With the Sod jumping in, with Enrith starting to move on up. These just aren't positions that you could tenably hold. Kind of showing themselves out of sewer here. He's not going to commit towards anything, but again, kind of expanding the range, which Witness Gaming AU have to work with. I keep on reading the name. I should know it by now. I do, but I keep on misreading it. Habib full. Silvo again on this sniper. Finding cracks are also important. Buddy tries to rush forward, gets caught. And Enrith makes it happen for their team as well. This is exactly what they need. This is exactly the opportunity that Witness Gaming AU need to push into last here. Come on, man. Uber ad and players. Sorry, what? Uber exchange and players up. Surely you can make this happen.
It's not an exchange.
It's not an exchange.
They didn't have to use it all. They just pressured them so hard that they had to fucking use, and it doesn't matter because now they're just gonna be able to push it to last. Silver on that sniper, a playmaker, time and time again, over and over, still hitting the shots he needs to. He's absolutely unlocked right now. Somebody check him PC, please. But okay, beast that shot. Never mind, I cursed him. But still, he's getting it. He's getting the shots he needs to when he needs them. The Ewer finally comes in for the Aussies as well. That sentry's taking a little bit longer than they probably would have liked it to take it down, but that's a lot of damage to Habib immediately. He's going to be taken out of the equation shortly if they finally get that kill cleaned up. There you go. Now no stickies on the point. Habib out of the equation as well. No heals for this Froyo team. Just win the war of attrition. Get onto that point as best you can. A little bit of cap time here and there. Silvo just there in the backlines, backing up a little bit with his fire as well. Slowly but surely, they just got to play this right. It's only Patty left alive, and there you go. They get it. 2-1. Here we are. Aussies back in the lead with 3 minutes left on the clock.
Oh man, and it's going to be a scary 3 minutes. You know that froyotech are going to throw everything they can at you right now. Witness Gaming just need one more cap to lock this out. Well, one more cap after the next 3 minutes. It's a whole thing. Don't get me started on it. But the overtime right now is the only thing I feel really keeping Froyo in this, because we've seen some pretty deadlocked mids and deadlocked kind of second and last holds. So got to be very careful here. Don't want to lose too much, and I love the fact that, well, Witness were a little bit slower in their rollout because they didn't want to get caught here. Some fade bombs coming on through. Down is very low. Loud takes a lot of pressure as they catch them in the no-no zone. That is not a place you want to be with your medic. Habib takes a lot but doesn't go down. With Habida getting caught by Cookie, this is huge. Again, this could be Witness Gaming locking this one out in very short order.
I was so like convinced that Froyo had that unlocked, the entire combo like purely healed up, and then just the collapse, the soldiers and scouts running down. Hubita had his life flash before his eyes over the course of like a tenth of a second, just gets completely destroyed. And there you are, Witness back in control, making the most of a terrible situation. What could have been a horrible mid-fight. Lock right in. There you are. You've equalized it. Now you can play at your own pace again. It was a bit frantic for that mid. Now here we are. Anybody's game. Froyo on the back foot. And Silva back up on the sniper immediately as well. They know it's a playmaker right now. They know it's working. They know that Froyo doesn't really have a response to it right now either. They're not shutting him down enough.
I completely agree, and I think Silva on this is a threat, and one that, well, froyotech definitely will need to address here. Peeking aggressively right now, moving up, does not have the overheal. Manages to sneak away as they don't commit towards anything. Witness Gaming very happy with things going slow, right? If they don't take within the next minute, as long as they keep themselves in a positive position, they are literally inches away from closing this one out.
They are inches away from knocking froyotech out of the tournament, securing themselves a space in the top 4 of this LAN, and cementing themselves at least as good of a team as any other Aussie team before them, and giving themselves an opportunity to go further where no Aussies gone before on the international stage. All that's separating them from that is one round win. As we're headed into overtime in the next 30 seconds, there's no way Froyo is getting that round in those 30 seconds, so it's down to the boys from down under to convert this into the round of a lifetime, into literal TF2 history, to be the first team to knock out Froyo of a international tournament, not just in the finals or something like that, no, in the lower brackets quarterfinals. 6th place for Bani is what's on the table here. And if I can't imagine a better motivator than that. So, now that we're into overtime officially, 1 minute and 45 seconds left on the round clock. And it's down to the Aussies to make history or crumble under the pressure, I suppose. Either one can happen at this point, but I think everybody's rooting for the underdog at this point.
Indeed they are, but who's the underdog with Australia looking so strong earlier in the day and yesterday? They might be considered the favourites here. The Uber, it was popped. That was the force. And that is potentially death knells right now for froyotech as Witness Gaming AU. They make sure they're in position. They make sure everybody's ready. It's time to go. They're going to set Silvo up. They're going to look to, well, catch one of these players. They don't quite have the same position, the same advantage to make this Uber happen as they would with Double Scout, but they absolutely can make it happen. They're going to put their soldiers up. Connor in good position to unload those rockets.
Oh.
Get sniped out of the air. Paddy wanted to get some damage, get that force on Lau, but it's just not happening. But you've got to go quick. 70%, 20% left for Habida right now. They really want to make this one happen. Can they do it with Laz and Paddy off the board? As a big player Dissad, they're going to try and edge cap here. They will have to pop the Uber on quickly. They take down Habib. That's an all-important flag. Just keep the rest alive as down as in high ground. Will eat the dart. Will move on in as they're distracted.
Doesn't matter,
as they move
their
Uber forward. Down, holds it down. And Witness Gaming Australia knock out froyotech and move themselves to that 4th place match.
Ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between, Team Fortress 2 history has just been made in a manner we have never seen before. Not only did Froyo get knocked out of a international tournament in anything but like the top 2 places, they got knocked out in 6th. They got knocked out by the Australian team, who have, at every single international tournament they attend, always been the underdogs and never held a candle to froyotech specifically in any of those. They've gotten knocked out, froyotech, by the very team that their all-important leader himself predicted would place 6th place. There is no outcome more poetic for this entire LAN than this very outcome right here. And I'm sure Bani will take it very gracefully, as he's known to do. And I congratulate the Australians for not only making history, but getting themselves a chance to continue on further in this tournament as they, I believe, take on the Balls team next in the lower bracket. For the time being, though, here's your logs, and what can I say? I predicted it. Silva and Cookie went haywire on that map.
Absolute freaking lootly, man. Like, we were talking about the fact that Silva with that beam is looking absolutely beautiful. Once he gets the chance to really deliver on a map like Process, when he's not hampered by all of these really slow and difficult and, projectile heavy maps, he can go to town. And Silva does just that. 268 DPM, outdoing any of those demos, any of those soldiers, or any of those other players who even deign to come near them. What an impressive performance from them. And frankly, I'm absolutely ecstatic about it. It's just great to see so much coming out from Witness Gaming AU, and off the back of these scouts who just are so consistent, it shows just how talented they really are.
It is. I'm at my loss for words. I'm jazzed. The boys, the Witness AU boys, are gonna be unbelievably enthused with this one. They're going to be ecstatic about what has happened here tonight and about proving not just themselves, not just proving that Australia can hang on the international stage still, much more so than before, considering how much tighter competition has gotten in the recent years of TF2, right? But also shown to the very people that doubted them the most, to the one guy that really didn't expect it, that they can hang, that maybe it is time that he vacates his throne. His legacy may be great. That's undisputed. But maybe it's starting to falter a little bit. Doesn't quite have it as much anymore. And it's going to be Aussies moving on into the final four. Together with, I believe, G6, their European counterparts of Witness EU, and the Balls team will be duking it out for those final four spots in the coming matches, I believe. One more today, maybe. I don't remember the rest of them tomorrow. What a day it's been.
What a day it's been.
What a LAN it's been.
What a LAN. And I mean, yeah, you absolutely highlighted it correctly. That it has been a hell of a LAN, and we're not even finished yet. We've still got one more match today. We've still got tomorrow. We've got the open bracket as well, and we are absolutely stacked with talent. Sorry, could you repeat that? Sorry, I didn't hear you, producer. There is I did say that. I did say there was another match today. There is another match coming up. It is that losers semi-finals, which is coming up between, I'm assuming, that's right, as you said, Balls and also Witness Gaming AU, which will definitely be an absolute corker, so definitely tune into that one. I believe that's going to be over on the Fireside Casts stream, which would certainly be exciting, so definitely head over on that one. And again, a reminder to all of you that we are witnessing some real peak TF2 right now. So many teams are looking so darn good. The breadth of talent in the scene is unheard of. And if you miss any more of this, you're the ones missing out.
It's a LAN for the history books, and well, with that, I think we've also earned ourselves a nice break from all of this. And I think definitely the boys from down under, the Aussies, they absolutely have earned this break. That was a grueling series. They've proven themselves. They got to do it again later today. But for the time being, they get to go into a little bit of a break as well. And we'll see more of them later over at Fireside. That's it from us for tonight, though, for today. I suppose if you're on the Western side, if you're in America for today, or for the Aussies, really, like, we're just kind of screwed in Europe, really. It's just nighttime for us when all the cool stuff happens everywhere else. We're always kind of screwed over by that. But oh well, that's how it be. We chose to do this. I'm tired. I want to go to bed.